Oh my gosh. Okay. So Sharon, I was looking through I don't know if you saw the email. I was looking through the video last year, and we started with you opening the meeting and swearing in our new select board members.
Yeah, that was a new process that hadn't been done before, and I don't know that it's necessary because you're still the chair until someone else is.
Yeah. I think maybe because people
kind of like the moderator. Once the moderator's elected through the year, and then sending a new election.
Sharon, what's your pleasure with that?
That's fine with me. I will have forms for them to sign, Michelle and Peeker, because they won their seats. But
right. Do they need to swear the oath to be out, or can they just sign the form and we don't need to do that on
here? They can just sign the form.
Okay.
We're still sworn in from last year.
Yeah, it's not like you're new members. So
right. Yeah. Okay. That's totally fine. Well, if I'm still the chair, I'll start the meeting. So we're going to begin the Bristol Selectboard meeting on Monday, March 13th, 2023. This is 7:05 p.m. Let's review agenda for addition, removal, or adjustment of any items. And I think we just have one regarding select board minutes. Is that correct?
The minutes from the previous meeting and also a liquor license for a hug.
All right, so we have there. Let's put the minutes where they usually go, which would be, let's do that as a 5.1. Is that okay?
Sure.
Minutes review. And then we do have accounts payable and any liquor or tobacco licenses, which we have one, so we'll make sure that we do that. And so these minutes are going to be for 03/06/23, correct?
Correct.
Essentially the town meeting minutes and the police district meeting minutes and just the short meeting we had at the very top of the at 6 p.m. All right, so that's an addition there. Anything else for addition?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, fantastic. Let's move on. Item 2, overview of Zoom meeting operation and procedures, rules for participation. Please mute your microphones if you are on Zoom and be recognized by myself, the chair, and potentially new chair as we go on. And I think everyone is muted because everyone knows how to Zoom. Let's take a look. So, oops. All right, item 2. So this is the annual select board organization matters. Item 1 is elect the chair. What's your pleasure? Darla, are you willing and able to step into that role? That is usually the vice chair is moved to the chair position. Are you interested in the chair role?
Willing, yes. Able is these days is a little tricky, but yeah, no, I'm getting around fine, and I'd be happy to serve as the chair.
Okay. So do we go? I can't remember. Did we do motions for this? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what we've done in the past.
Chair.
All right. So Peeker's made a motion.
I'll second.
Okay. And further discussion on the chair role, going to Darla. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
All those against, nay. Motion carries. Darla, you may take the hat and continue
for myself.
continue the rest of the meeting. Is that correct?
Sure.
Sure.
And I'll just change my select or my my title here in the Zoom.
Thanks, Ian, and thanks for your time as chair too. You did an excellent job.
Thank you.
So we are called to order. We are on item number 2, which is the annual select board organization. We elected a chair, and the second item is to elect a vice chair. So I know in the TA report there was some background there. We're looking for a nomination, looking for a motion.
I'll make Joel move here.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. Shall we, any discussion, any comment?
Well, Joel's not refusing it, so.
Joel's not refusing, I didn't hear him. So hearing none, shall we vote? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those against, nay. Congratulations, Joel.
Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, my computer just jumped. Nope, I got it right here. Thank you. All right, number 3, designate a regular meeting schedule, subject to occasional modification. Valerie, do you want to review what we did in the past? I believe we switched last year to every second and fourth.
Second and fourth Mondays with the occasional holiday that needs to be adjusted.
I make a motion, we continue with the same schedule. It seems to be working out very well.
I'll second.
Thanks, Michelle. Any discussion?
I would like to at least look into when December, January, and February, you know, those long months where we're meeting. You know, Peaker's not in the pit that time and I'm not working so late. It's possibly just look, we used to go 6 o'clock 4 months a year in the winter months. So we could get out before too late. I would just like to consider that by December.
So change the start time to 6 o'clock?
Sometime during December, you know, those 4 months, maybe up until town meeting. Just something to look at later on. Do we have to vote on it tonight? I don't know, but.
Any other comments? Okay, do we need to vote on that, Valerie?
Ultimately, yeah, the regular schedule. Yeah.
The regular schedule. So voting on the regular schedule of the second and fourth Monday. I almost said Thursday. All in favor, say aye.
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 And those against? Hearing none, we will meet the second and fourth Monday. Okay, item number 4, designate the Addison Independent as the newspaper of record.
I so move. Second, I'll make a motion, we make the Addison paper of record.
So Joel
Second.
made a motion. We have a second. Any discussion?
I had a question. Have we ever done public postings in the Addy for our select board meetings? I know there's a cost associated with that, but I'm curious if anyone knows the history of that.
I'm not aware that the town has.
Like with the
Okay.
agenda, Ian, or you're just saying?
Right. I just noticed that Middlebury and other towns post their select board agendas as well as other things like the development review board. And I was curious if we had ever done that and if we felt that was a useful thing to do.
I mean, we haven't, as far as I know, as long as I've been on, we've never done it.
Okay.
And we do it for the development review board for certain things, but
Right. Yeah, I looked at pricing today. I just asked them just because I was curious. And it's fairly costly in terms of in the publication. It's $20 for a weekly posting if it's just online. And I don't know what the readership or viewership of that is, but I don't know if board members are interested in pursuing that. We have about 30 meetings a year, so it would be, you know, a chunk of change to do that. And I don't know if we thought it was useful or not to reach a broader audience with what we're doing at the town level.
I would say with Front Porch Forum and the Facebook page, probably got it covered.
Okay.
It might not be a bad idea to put an occasional notice in there, not necessarily every other week or before every meeting, but just to remind citizens that the select board is meeting on the second and fourth Mondays and the agendas can be found online and on the website. Just a general kind of PSA without specifics that can be circulated occasionally, recirculated.
Yeah, so you could craft a sort of press release or a notice that we could post. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay. So we need to vote on just the designating the Addison Independent as the paper of record, correct? Okay.
Yes,
So
please.
all those in favor?
Aye.
I,
Anyone against? All righty.
Who seconded that?
I did.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, number 5, designate official posting locations for the town. Currently, the town office, Lawrence Memorial Library, Bristol Beverage, and the website. And in the past, we've used Shaw's, but I understand there's no longer a bulletin board available there.
Correct.
Do we need to replace Shaw's? Do we have enough listings? I'm thinking Martin's has a bulletin board.
I think Martin's would be good. Some people may not go to the website like they.
Mhm.
It might be a challenge to physically get it there to post by Fridays.
Well, it's just a thought. If we don't need it, we don't need it, but it's another option here in the community.
I mean, I can post the agenda on Martin's board. It's not a problem.
Thanks, Anthony.
Thanks.
So we need to vote on that, correct?
I make a
Yes.
motion that we have 3 of physical posting locations: Lawrence Memorial Library, Aubuchon's of Martin's of Aubuchon's, or whatever it's called now, and Bristol Beverage, and the website.
And the town office.
And the town office.
And the library.
Right, I did say that.
Yeah,
I
said
did
the
say
the
that.
library. Yeah.
Okay.
I wonder if
can
we,
we-
I wonder if we can make the hardware store kind of like an optional one, is that it, but because if it's designated as an official site, but it doesn't, things don't ultimately get posted there all the time. I just wonder in terms of being able to meet that every
That
time.
3? Yeah, I think
Well,
that's a good idea, but I didn't see the town office there. I just started reading Lawrence Memorial, but
We're only
I'll make that
required
motion.
3, right?
Right, right.
Correct.
So,
All right.
Can we,
Town
can we,
office, Lawrence Memorial Library, Aubuchon's if available, and Bristol Beverage.
okay, I'll second that, and I have a question.
Go
Can
ahead.
we, so we talk about the website, can we add Front Porch Forum to this permanently?
No,
Just so it's there. I know that we do it, and we've talked about it before, like we have done it. I'm fine with not doing Front Porch Forum and Facebook. I know that Facebook's a little bit more difficult because only one person currently posts for the town. But Front Porch Forum, multiple members can post if needed. So it makes it a little bit easier. But I just like to add that to our list so it's always there as we go forward each year.
it's a good idea.
Okay.
And so, Joel, I don't know if you need to amend that if you're okay with adding Front Porch
I'm
Forum.
okay
to
with
that.
that.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'll amend
Okay.
that. Yep, I'm okay with it.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. And I'll second that. I support that.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those against? All right, moving on. Authorize the town treasurer's office to process weekly payroll with the select board approving warrants twice a month.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion?
I just have a quick question, Val. Has there been, I know this would throw people up in arms, but is there any discussion about doing payroll every other week?
Not
I
lately.
know, I know I'm opening a can of worms, but I'm just asking.
I know that there are a handful of employees that would strongly object.
Oh, I know.
But I'm not aware that it's been discussed
Okay.
lately.
I was just thinking, time and effort and checks, and I know most things are now direct deposited, but
Does it use a tremendous amount of resources to do it weekly versus every other week?
That's a treasurer question, but
Treasurer or clerk
Yeah,
question?
I mean, honestly, reporting wise and everything like that, we have found it easier going weekly. It took significantly more time, according to Peter, during the switchover because of how you need to report certain things. We'd need to change our entire structure again in order to just try to figure out if it would be more beneficial. But it takes me only between 2 and 4 hours to see how if it's complicated, closer to 4, like we have the fire department and everyone else. But it's only 2 to 4 hours a week, which would probably
Okay.
make a day for, anyways.
Okay. Well, let's not make it more complicated.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, shall we vote? Any more discussion first, I should ask? Okay, shall we vote? All those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
I,
And against? Okay, ayes have it.
I'm gonna leave.
bye,
Everybody
Peter.
be safe. See you.
Goodbye.
Have a
Enjoy
have
that
a
poll.
good night. Okay, number 7. Review of select board rules of procedure.
So hopefully folks had a chance to glance at the document that was adopted back in 2021. It's the standard fares of meetings, the open meeting law, and just like we started tonight with the overview of being recognized by the chair. One of the things I want to point out, I think I do this every time, but I just want to make sure that folks are aware regarding email. I think it's worth drawing attention to the use of email to carry out select board business. It's okay to use email for organization, coordination kind of things, and for sharing documents, but it's not okay to use email to actually conduct town business or to make decisions by email, unless it's extremely time sensitive and that decision is then ratified at the very next meeting in open session.
And that's with a quorum of members, though.
Correct. Yes. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah. So 2 members can have all the email communications you want, but 3 or more constitutes a quorum, and that requires disclosure in under the open meeting law. So but it's okay to use email using a quorum of the board for coordination and organizational kinds of things.
Okay,
Right.
so we
And
have
is
this, oh, sorry, Ian, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, we have this discussion every year because we all use our personal emails, that then that whole email is subject to
Disclosure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm working hard. Hardly working. No, I'm working on updating that. So hopefully, if we start to improve IT sort of structure in the town offices, we can hopefully adapt as our other towns around us have, by having individual emails for select board members and for other department members as well. So, and the town has been working on that over time, but I'd like to see that accelerated a little bit. I'll be working on that this year.
Okay.
Does that need to be voted on, Valerie? Or is that just a
No,
review?
no action is necessary unless the select board wants to make any changes or updates to it. But this is just an opportunity to acknowledge the rules of procedure and just kind of refamiliarize ourselves with them.
Yeah. Alrighty. So moving on to number 8 is a review of the conflict of interest policy.
And the same concept applies here. This was adopted back in 2012. And standard stuff, hopefully a lot of the conflict of interest stuff is common sense. But one thing it's also worth repeating is that in a small town where a lot of people wear a lot of different hats, there's quite likely going to be some level of conflict of interest at some point. And it's not that it's absolutely prohibited, where people have to completely exclude themselves from certain things, but in instances where that's not practical or possible, then disclosure is the thing to do, to acknowledge in open session that a conflict may exist or does exist, and kind of get the read of other members of the board and members of the public. And if the members of the board and members of the public are okay with that disclosure and are comfortable and feel that the person who has either an actual direct financial conflict or perhaps what's the word I'm looking for, a preformed opinion about something. But if folks are comfortable that the person can act on the particular question objectively and fairly, then it's possible to proceed. It's okay to proceed. But if there are objections, then the proper thing to do would be for that select board member to recuse themselves. And recusal typically means leaving the room, because depending on the subject matter, the mere presence of somebody who's in the room, perhaps communicating through other means than talking, like body language or something like that, that could influence the outcome of the decision. It's best for that person to just kind of step out of the room for that item.
Any other discussion? And that again is not something that we need to make a motion on, correct? That was just a review.
Correct. Acknowledge. Yep.
Okay. Number 9, designate select board liaisons to town departments. And there was a chart within the TA report of where everybody stands. Are we looking to make any adjustments tonight?
I'm fine with my 3, fire, police, and the library.
Not fine with mine.
Yeah, I'm fine with mine.
And I'm fine with mine, and should we assume that Peaker's okay with his too?
Yeah.
He can always let us know at the next meeting if he's not.
And are there any more that we can add to Peakers since he's not here?
Anybody want to give one up?
Yeah. Yeah. And so that does need a motion, correct?
Yes, please.
Okay. Would anyone
So
like to
moved.
make a motion?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
And those against. All right, moving on. Item number 3, we are at public forum. So we have a number of folks here in the room with us this evening. I don't know if you all can see. Do we need folks to introduce themselves, Valerie, as they're here in the room?
Well, only if they're going to be contributing to an agenda item, but there is a sign-in sheet there on the table back there. So that would be very helpful if folks that are there could sign in so that we know who's who.
And
Okay.
Carol will have that list, and we have to send it to Carol so she can put it on the minutes.
Right.
And
This
public
is
forum is discussing something that's not on this evening's agenda.
Right.
Right. So if it's, anyone for something that's not on the agenda?
Okay.
No? Hi, everyone that came in after I turned my back on you. Great. So, moving right along, our department head roundtable. Let's see, well, Meredith is behind me.
Yeah, so for the Bristol Recreations Department, I will be introducing my friend here, Zach, but for events and programs, March 25th, we're gonna have a contra dance, which is pretty cool. April, we've got some play studio programs for the week of spring break. Hopefully some swimming programs will be added. Theater is back in Holly Hall. And gosh, I just had a run of 4 days solid of rentals for the Holly Hall, different parties. So the rentals are up for the buildings.
That's great, people want to gather again.
Yes, they do.
Great. Great, thank you, Mary. Bruce?
Nothing new, just the usual.
Just the usual, okay, thanks. And that's it for in the room. Let's see, Brett, are you able to talk with us?
I am, and I don't know what. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yep.
Okay, I don't know why my camera's not working, so I apologize for that. I do have it on. Anyway, well, I'll just start yapping here. Yeah, just a couple quick updates. As Valerie and Ian know, I've started this process of sending out a weekly report to the fire department, really just to kind of highlight some of the administrative efforts and, perhaps some training announcements that are coming up, just to provide some consistent communication, beyond our monthly staff meeting. That way folks aren't waiting an entire month to hear about what's going on in some instances. I provided just this last Friday, just an overview of, what happened at town meeting as it pertained to the fire department. And certainly I think I can speak for the entire fire department when I say we're extremely pleased and certainly appreciate the select board support and the support of the taxpayers for our annual operating budget and our annual appropriations. So always recognizing that the dollar amounts there, but hopefully people feel like they're getting their money's worth. Let's see, we have at our April 5th meeting, we have a stock fire truck. It's a demo unit. They call it a quick attack unit that's coming here from New Hampshire, just so everyone can take a look at it. This is a possible future vehicle that will replace a couple of our smaller vehicles. And kind of along those same lines, I don't know, Valerie, if you can answer this question, but will the select board be revisiting capital equipment plans? I had submitted a revised plan during the budget season, and I know a question came up at town meeting, and fortunately I had my laptop with me, so I was able to inform the individual who asked the questions about our appropriations and what they were for. So I was just curious if we might see that information on the website in the future.
Well, sure, that can be put on the website. Refresh my memory. Was the capital plan actually reviewed and discussed by the select board, or was that something that hadn't been done yet?
That hadn't been done.
Okay, the next agenda, the March 27th agenda, is filling up pretty good. So perhaps
I'm happy to wait till April 10th. And I say that only because, well, I guess I'll ask you now. So I'd like to be considered to be on the April 10th agenda. It'd be great to be able to talk about that evening.
Perfect.
But also, we established a working group last fall at the fire department. This group of 5 persons has been looking into a training prop. And this prop, we would potentially, we would like to have it placed on the town's property over at 79 West Street. So they have put together a very excellent presentation, which they have shared with the fire department over the course of 2 months. I know not the working group leader, but a person on that working group who helped put that together intends on sharing that document with you all prior to that meeting, so you have an opportunity to look at it and be prepared to ask any questions you should have. So I don't want to get into the details because I really don't want to steal their thunder. They've done a tremendous amount of work, and I can say with, there's pretty great support. I'd say we have 99% support at the fire department for this initiative. So that's pretty exciting. So I'll just leave it at that. What else? Back on February 27th, I know Bruce, myself, Will Elwell, who was the deputy chief of Bristol Rescue, we all were invited and attended a tabletop exercise at Mount Abraham High School. That was facilitated by Matt Tatro, who was like their school safety coordinator, but it was a busy room. There must have been 15, 20 people in that room, to include the superintendent and the principal. They had a scenario. It was a school bus fire, during the pickup at the end of the school day. So it was just really great to sit in that room with all those persons and talk through, what everybody's roles and responsibilities are. I mean, they have requirements they have to meet, which is why they did this, but it's always good to sit down at the table so everybody has a good understanding of what each person's role is when they arrive at such an incident. On Saturday morning, March 11th, we had an opportunity, the fire department and Ian joined us to walk through the firehouse apartments. I befriended the site super, and I talked to him, it seems like just about every day, because I'm always over there walking my dog. And they've been very welcoming and allowing us to utilize that space. We actually utilized it for training a week ago. We were wanting to get up on the roofs. So, but anyway, Saturday we had a chance to walk through. We wanted to see the structure, the frame, before they got all the sheetrock up, because they had already begun sheetrocking at the south end of the 16-unit structure. But he anticipates, by the end of this week, the rest of the roofs will be on. I guess maybe that will change now with the weather coming in. But anyway, no doubt they're going to be beautiful apartments. They really are. It's pretty incredible views from there as well. So, but anyway, that was really great to see all of that. And of course, you guys all know they broke ground out behind the fire station on that new manufacturing space. So a lot of activity out there. It is a busy place over on Firehouse Drive right now. And we had our annual fit testing, and that's our mask, our face pieces we all wear. That's one of our OSHA annual requirements to comply with our respiratory protection program. So that has to be completed by an outside vendor, a licensed vendor. That was performed last week. And the only other thing I just kind of wanted to mention, I mentioned this to Ian following Saturday morning's walkthrough. We got talking about the radio or the communication tower initiative. We had talked about the idea of possibly erecting something at the fire station to not only benefit us, but potentially in the future, the police department, you know, as we all would like to get out from under a lease that we're currently a part of for the use of the tower here in Bristol, a very expensive lease. And at this time, I understand, and having a conversation with the zoning administrator, that it's not feasible, as it does not comply with town's zoning rules and regulations. So I asked Chris, you know, is there any workarounds? Is there, you know, any exemptions for emergency services? And he kind of said, no, not really. You know, it would really require going back and, you know, changing rules and laws. And I mean, I know that's nothing I'm going to tackle. So I guess I just kind of plant that seed with you all, that something we were all, I know I was very excited about the potential opportunity to put something up there because we have the infrastructure for it. You know, the big thing being a generator, the backup power source, that at this time, it doesn't look like a feasible option. So I'm disappointed to say the least, but that's how it goes sometimes. That's all I got, unless anybody has any questions for me.
Chief,
one last thing. Joel, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That was my one last thing. So the new pumper, you know, as you all know, it's been delayed more than once, probably a dozen times. But we have scheduled on the books 3 persons from the new pumper working group that designed it. They are scheduled to travel out to, I think it's Wisconsin is where the factory is, April 16th through the 18th. That is part of the contract. The vendor pays for that. So 3 persons from that group will go out there to the final inspection of the vehicle before it is shipped east and lands in New Hampshire, where they'll do a few other things to it, to include putting all the mounting brackets in for our equipment. So when it's in New Hampshire, that working group, those persons will all travel there together and bring down many of the hand tools that will be going on that truck, so they can show the vendor exactly where we want these things mounted. So it's coming along, and I really hope to see that truck in early May. So optimistic. I think you've heard me say that before, but this is just the way it goes, I guess. So, but yeah, we're all excited. New truck's coming.
Okay. Thank you, Brett.
Yep.
Any questions for Brett before we let him go? All right. Well, thanks again, Brett. I appreciate the report.
Sure.
Okay. Sharon.
Hello.
Sharon.
We finally made it through elections. Everything passed. The only thing that was amended was on Monday night at town meeting, they changed 1.25% after 3 months of being delinquent to 1%. So that will go into effect July 1st. Overweight permits are in the house. They're coming in fast and furious. Dog licenses are due April 1st. And there's still quite a few liquor licenses that have not come in. In fact, I talked to one owner today, wanted to know where it was, and I told her, you need to go online, find your email from liquor control. So I'm hoping some of the other ones have just overlooked it rather than waiting for something from us. But land records, we have a few to do in-house. Everything has to be wrapped up. Anything that closes by March 31st, by April 1st. That's when the grand list closes. So, and then that will pick up down the hall at the lister's office. I think that's about it for now. Of course, don't forget, taxes are due next month, April 15th. People are already starting to come in and pay. So traffic's going to pick up in the office.
Okay. Thanks, Sharon.
You're welcome.
Thanks for all your work on the election as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Anthony, I think you're the last one. Oh no, Taylor's on there too. Let's go with Anthony.
And Mark's here too.
Oh, and Mark. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Right. Beautiful house tonight. So let's go to Anthony.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I had to put headphones in. So a little bit about what's going on in my office. I've been working closely with Bruce on the police grants. We've submitted all of our financial reporting so far. Another thing with payroll, I established department codes finally. So our payroll module and reporting will be a little bit more organized. So now we can look by departments. If you want to look at something in the rec, you can just look straight up rec. You don't have to individualize everything now. Another thing I've been working on with Sharon, water reads are starting, and we are trying to switch over the water reading software to another computer. And I think that's really the crazy stuff going on.
What about the audit? Any updates on audits?
I haven't heard anything about the audit. Sharon is working with me on a few pieces of information we needed from the AP section for the auditors. And she had us check a couple of our balance sheets, but I haven't heard any additional information.
Okay.
One of the things I'd like to try to accomplish with this new auditing firm, well, they're not quite so new anymore, but is for them to have somebody meet with us at a select board meeting and kind of walk us through some of the highlights of the 2021 audit. And also, hopefully by then, at that point, the 2022 audit will be complete and we can glance at that also. And that would be an opportunity for us to ask any questions and just better understand the types of information that is available in those audit documents.
Well said.
Thanks. Thank you, Anthony.
Thanks.
Let's see, Mark. Thanks for joining us tonight. Oop. Are you available to talk with us, Mark? No, Mark must have stepped away. Let's go to Taylor and find out what's happening at the hub.
Hello. Everything's kind of staying track. One of the really exciting things is that we had the washer and dryer installed, which is really excellent. So we had the washer and dryer installed finally at the hub, which was really excellent. That was done, we purchased that back in September or October, and it was completed in partnership with Jackman's, Irwin Electric, and White Dove Construction. Chuck Richardson, our forever Angel coordinator, made sure that happened, which was really excellent. So we're now excited to have a washer and dryer. Hasn't been utilized a ton, but we're, I think as more youth get used to it, it's going to be a resource that folks can use to wash clothes. We're going to wash clothes. We can do it to like wash rags and things that we have around the hub. It'll be really great.
If I could just quickly jump in, it's hard that the audio is a little hard to hear. Or are you talking about the washer and dryer that were installed?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Here.
At least it's, for me anyway. I don't know about others. But.
It's a little tricky, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Here, let me just, is this?
I think if you're just a little closer, Taylor,
is this better?
It sounds a little better.
Yes, you may want to, just switch your microphone. I think it might be your mic and your headphones.
That's what I just did. I just switched it to the computer. So this is better though?
That is better.
Much better.
Excellent. Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. So I was just talking about the washer and dryer. We got it installed in partnership with White Dove Construction, Jackman's, and Irwin Electric. They worked together to get that in, which was really excellent. Other than that, we've just been pushing ahead. We're still in partnership with ELP. So Mondays and Wednesdays nights, we have late night hours funded through ELP. I'm working on a grant right now with Meredith for some stuff over like in partnership with the rec department and the hub. And we're just starting to kind of look forward to the spring and summer months and be all done with the winter. But yeah, things are plugging along and going well.
Great. Great. Thank you, Taylor.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Let's see, we'll try Mark again. Mark Bouvier, are you available to talk with us? Mark must be occupied. Oh, wait, nope, that was Taylor. All right.
Is Eric in the room?
He is not.
He is not here.
Okay.
Probably getting ready for the storm.
Yeah. Yes.
That may or may not come to us.
I have just 2 additional items once you're done with everybody else.
Sure, go right ahead, Brett.
Okay, yeah. Well, here, I think I fixed my camera too. Yeah, look at that. All
There
right,
you are.
I just thought it was worth noting, well, one, the new diesel fuel tank, the new double-walled tank was installed at the fire station last week by Jackman's Inc. That was purchased by Naylor and Breen, part of the Firehouse Apartments project for compliance with the distance to the buildings. We couldn't have a single wall tank anymore. So we're really pleased because we were able to continue utilizing the same platform for that tank. As probably all heard me say, that thing is strategically located as vehicles return and filling up, and just prevents any of us from having to back up. And then also the weekend of March 25 and 26, at the Bristol Fire Station, we are hosting a 2-day National Fire Academy course. It's the Incident Safety Officer course. There's 3 Bristol firefighters enrolled in that course, but just pretty excited about having a National Fire Academy course right here in town. So just thought I'd share that. So thank you.
Great, thanks, Brett. That's a great accomplishment to have a national training here. It's a great comment on your facility. Great. Alrighty.
I sent Mark a text. He doesn't answer.
Excuse me?
I sent Mark a text.
Oh, okay.
He may join in later.
So we might hear from Mark in a little bit, so we'll circle back to that if we do. So we're going to move forward to item number 5, which is regular business. And number 1 there is consider Bristol Recreation Department Coordinator Candidate. So why don't we ask you guys to come on up? Here. Can we, Joel, can you grab another chair so that they can have that?
Sure. Mark's
Here, I'll take this beast of a chair.
Yes, I know, I was rolling that, that's it.
Thank you.
All right, well, I'd like to introduce Zach Farnham Haskell. Zach's from Williston, and we would like to introduce him to you all as the recreations coordinator for the hub and rec department. A couple of things is that you've worked with all ages, done some PE, some assisting recreations programs with Essex Recreations Department. And so I think it's going to be a great fit for town, for our community. Does anybody have any questions for Zach?
What is the proposed start date?
April 3rd.
Excellent.
Zach, what is it about this position that interests you?
Just the combination of the team, the hub and the recreation seems exciting.
It is.
Yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait.
The recreation coordinator position in the past has been also served as a liaison with the Conservation Commission, and was very active in helping to maintain Bristol's parks, Sycamore Park, Eagle Park, Memorial Park, the Town Green, and other initiatives, working with the Tree Committee. So, Zach, are those things that you would also be interested in?
Yeah, definitely. Whatever's needed, I'm up for the task.
Excellent.
Yeah, do you have some activities that you've done in the past with teens that you'd like to see, you're thinking of bringing here to Bristol?
During my interview, I kind of touched on, I'm really into fitness and personal training stuff, so I would love to bring that. I don't know how popular it is in the community, but I'd love to bring some fitness activities to the community.
There's the beginning of a fitness trail.
Yeah, so we do have that. We have 3 stations, and there's some things that we need to finish up with that for that. And then there's 3 more ideas for that fitness trail, so it's going to be a good fit.
Good.
All right.
Does anyone else have any questions? Great, okay. Do we need to vote on this? Do we need a motion?
Ultimately, yes, for the select board to agree to hire Zach for the role.
I make a motion that we accept the Recreation Department's recommendation to hire Zach Farnham Haskell.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
And anyone opposed? We all said aye. Welcome, Zach. Great.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
That was
Thank you.
easy.
Nice to meet you, Zach.
Welcome forward.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, number 2. So there's dog ordinance,
I'll let you guys.
dog ordinance violation, public hearing. How do we move forward with this piece? Valerie, I need your.
Yes, well, hopefully folks had a chance to glance at the material that's posted on the website. We received complaints of nuisance barking, barking of a dog over on Lower Notch Road. Dates back to last year. The police department was involved in responding to the complaints and prepared some reports on those visits, and also issued a citation about the violation. And at one point, it was noted that apparently there's more than one dog at the residence. There's at least one. And that dog has since been registered with the town, but it had not been, it was not registered when the complaints were first identified. And I did speak with the owner of the dog, or dogs, this morning, or this afternoon rather. He had not yet received the certified letter that went out last week. He was notified that there was a letter to be picked up at the post office, but he only received the card on Saturday. So he was not able to, I don't know if he's there today, right in the room, but does not appear to be online.
We do not have him here in the room.
Is anybody there on this topic in the room?
Yes.
So I guess the next step would be for the folks in the room to present their information, and for the select board to ask any questions.
Would you guys like to come up and so you can be on camera? And we'll have you guys come up next.
You guys can come up, so I can choose about it.
The owner of the dog is Michael Mulligan, and I emailed him the letter and the dog ordinance and the agenda for tonight's meeting with the Zoom link. And I invited him to, if he wasn't able to attend tonight, to represent himself through an email, if he wanted to respond to the concerns by email, but I had not received anything.
Can you
I'll double
state your
check.
name, please, for the minutes?
I'm Olivia, this is Matt.
Sure. Matthew Bryan, we're the property owners at 1908 Lower Notch Road.
Great. Can you just tell us your experience with what's been happening?
Sure.
You wrote something.
Okay.
Yeah, so we bought the property at 1908 Lower Notch Road in October of 2021, and this has pretty much been an issue almost every day since the day we bought the property. The barking usually starts early every morning, and there's been numerous occasions the barking has continued through late hours of the night. Yeah, this issue has honestly just been like pretty emotionally, physically draining for both of us. A lot of different levels. Personally, it's just been difficult. Feeling like at times we can't sleep or rest or even, enjoy being outside on our property. This has also presented a challenge to us as small business owners. For those of you that don't know, we bought the Pick Your Own Blueberry Farm on Lower Notch Road from Miss Linda Luna. And, our intentions when we purchased the farm was to continue the legacy that Al and Linda had started or created, and part of that is offering a quiet and peaceful, family-friendly environment for all the members of our community to enjoy in the summertime. And the excessive barking has just been unfortunately a burden and challenge to that effort. I don't just on top of how it's affected us personally, you know, we all are just very worried about the dog and their well-being. Just the manner in which they just continually bark and howl for hours just does not lead us to believe that the dogs are happy or being treated properly. You know, they just seem to be left outside every day in all weather conditions, temperatures, you know, which is just of extra concern. You know, we have reviewed the police reports, and unfortunately it just seems like there's not only denial of responsibility, but also just a disconnect on Mr. Mulligan's end in regards to his perception and actually the reality of the problem that he's creating. I think he mentions in his last police report, he thinks it may not even be his dogs that are the source of the problem because he's bringing them inside at night. However, we know this is not possible at all because we can see his dogs right through our tree line. His dog's barks are extremely loud and distinct, so there's no confusion at all. It's very obvious that they're coming from his side of the property. I think he also mentioned in one report that he was confused because he'd been there for 8 years and never had any problems or, you know, complaints from neighbors. But I guess we did just want to mention that obviously things are changing in Bristol and our population is growing. And just in our immediate area, you know, there's 3 lots, including ours, that have been subdivided and are being developed, you know, that directly border Mr. Mulligan's property. So it may not have been an issue in the past, but it certainly is now, you know, especially now that our neighborhood is growing. We did recognize in the reports that Mr. Mulligan does claim to have bought bark collars in an effort to mitigate the problem. You know, we're not really convinced that's the most humane or responsible approach to the situation. It also hasn't really done anything to lessen the barking, because it just continues to be an issue on a daily basis for us. So yeah, we feel like even if in fact he is using bark collars, you know, it's kind of just that much more concerning that the animals are distressed enough to, you know, continue barking while they're being shocked with the collars. So yeah, I mean, we really believe the correct solution would not to be silencing the dogs with bark collars, you know, but rather to stop leaving them outside all day in the conditions that, you know, are causing them to bark constantly in the first place. And, you know, we just feel like part of being a responsible dog owner is, you know, means giving the animals the attention and care that they deserve. And, you know, we just feel like this shouldn't mean leaving them outside all day to be everyone in the community's problem, you know, except the owners while he's not home. No, the last thing I had to say is, you know, we are the ones that kind of have stepped up to be proactive about this issue, but, you know, we do have other neighbors that hear the barking and share our concerns, a few of them that are here today in support of the issue. And, you know, it's not only neighbors, but friends, families, customers, and visitors of the farm. You know, we have to have this discussion with, you know, so just countless people that we've talked to that are, you know, share the same concern about just the nature of the barking. So, well, yeah, we do appreciate your attention to this. We look forward to hopefully a resolution, just not for us personally, but for the community and the dogs too.
Thank you.
Do you have anything there?
Nope.
Oh, and you said you can't see them through a tree line, so is it like when it's not winter, when there's leaves on the trees,
Yeah.
is it still an issue? Do they bark just because they can see people, or do they just bark because they're
It's year round,
distraught?
yeah. It's been
Yeah, it's just easier to see,
couple years, yeah.
you know, more clearly when the trees drop. But they seem to start barking like what we presume is like when he leaves first thing early in the morning, and then they'll just bark for like several hours usually until they like exhaust themselves, and then it'll be just kind of throughout the day.
And then
Yeah.
So they not running, but they're just, not just.
there's a
barking.
yard, yeah.
Yard, but do you have them chained all day or hooked all
Are they
day?
fenced or?
They're
They're fenced
fenced.
in.
They're fenced in.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it seems like they're just
I
like,
know where the Lunda's property is. I worked on that many years ago for Alan Linda. So
Yeah.
their place across the road, this where the dogs
Linda's
are.
old dad's house.
Yeah, it's old house. I know
Yeah.
where, yeah, where that is.
That's right adjacent,
Ranch.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
It's towards the south, towards
Yeah.
this way.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And then there's a new neighbor in between ourselves
Yes,
and them, and he's building a house there too.
if I could interrupt quickly, I checked my email just now and saw that he did reply, acknowledged our conversation this afternoon, and he planned to participate tonight by calling in. And I don't see that he's called in through the Zoom link, but instead he tried the town office number. So I don't
We haven't
think.
heard it ring, Valerie, but that doesn't mean it has.
Right, so I don't know how best to connect him other than somebody calling him on his cell phone number, but I don't know if that's an option.
So we've had.
If he wants to call my cell, he's more than welcome, and I'll put it on speakerphone if that's what you want to do.
I can in the chat, I can text his number. So why don't would somebody be willing to give him a call?
Thanks.
Yeah, I can call him if you want.
So while we're waiting, we can have you guys, would you like to tell us your experience?
Sure.
Just here, yeah.
Bruce, he stated in the letter that he doesn't even know if they're his dogs, but you've been on the property, you've been verified that they belong to that owner.
You can have a seat, sir.
Okay. We can verify that we've been there, and there's 2 dogs at the time that we went. And they barked when we came in the yard.
Okay.
Other than that, I can't say we've sat there to listen to see if there were any other dogs barking in the area.
So we have another person who'd like to tell us their experience. Oh, sorry, Ian, did you have a question? Or
I was just going to ask Bruce. So Bruce, it looks like from the report, there have been 3 instances of the Bristol Police Department visiting the property and issuing a citation. Is that correct? You've
Yes.
done one and then Josh did 2?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
So sir, if you'd just like to state your name, please?
Sure. My name is Kevin Holm Hansen. I'm a neighbor.
Thank you.
Hi. Yeah, I'm a neighbor, and I live at 1835 Lower Notch Road, so it's across the street from these guys, Matt and Olivia, and Michael, and Mark. So I'm about 2 lots down and then across the street, and our driveway is pretty long, and it's not uncommon to hear Michael's dog barking. I don't keep track of when it is or anything, but the dog will bark for long periods of time. It sounds like it's a big dog. I can hear it clear as day, and the dog doesn't sound happy. I mean, I've been lucky enough to have a dog for most of my life, and to me, it's concerning. The dog doesn't seem happy, and I mean, I know people that have had dogs, huskies or whatever. They leave them out 24/7, and the dogs are accustomed to it, and they're fine. This dog doesn't seem to be in a good spot, and it's concerning. I mean, just for the dog by itself, but it's also, you know, irritating or aggravating to have a dog incessantly barking. I'm not talking like for 5 minutes or something. I mean, I've been outside, you know, working for half hour, 45 minutes, or an hour. The dog is barking the entire time, and it's just constant, and it's you know, it is concerning. So yeah, it's those 2 aspects of it, and it seems, I don't know, unfortunate, or it's not in the best interest of the dog to have him in a situation like that where he is that unhappy. And I live a significant distance away, and I can tell that it is his dog. I mean, there's not anybody in close proximity to him that has a dog, and it's I would say it's 100% in my mind certain I know where the barking is coming from. So I mean, to say it's somebody else's dog, I think is not appropriate. But yeah, I don't know how to resolve it. I think it's unfortunate that it's gotten to this point. But yeah, it's you know, it's been going on for quite a while. Exactly how long, I'm not sure, but yeah.
How long have you lived there?
35-ish years.
Okay, so is it gotten worse in the past year or 2, or is it just?
I would say, yeah, in the last, year or 2. I don't remember it being an issue, like going back some number of years, but yeah. You know, I'm not sure exactly how long he's been in that spot, but.
Well, Linda's parents,
Right.
house,
Yeah.
they built that place.
Right.
And
Yeah, I know, I used to plow the driveway for them. Yeah.
He mentioned eight
You guys
years.
are only second
8
owner
years.
too, I believe. You're the
I'm
only-
sorry, Ian, what did you say?
You mentioned in one of the reports, it said 8 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not sure if he's had the dog the entire time, but yeah, it's not clear to me exactly when it's happened. I mean, it could have been going on for 3 or 4 years. I don't recall exactly when it started being an issue. So I don't know if there's anything more I can add, except I think people here would like to see a good resolution, for everybody involved, the dog and the neighbors. I mean, it's just, people would like to have some peace and quiet.
Do we know how long the collars have been on?
Or if they're on.
Or if they're on, or if they're even turned on. They may be on, but not
Yeah.
turned on.
To me, I don't know.
What it said in the report, but nobody knows.
Right. I mean, to use a bark collar, it's not making the dog any more comfortable. It's like, it's still going to be uncomfortable, unhappy, but it's going to teach itself not to bark, right? So it fixes
And
one problem.
it doesn't even do that. The other dog complaint we had, Joel, remember they had bark collars and it didn't stop them from.
The ones up north, the north end of
Yeah.
town, yeah, a few years ago.
I would never try that approach, but is there any questions for me, or is there
Any questions before we let this gentleman go?
When you guys hear the dog bark, can you hear when they're inside?
I don't think
No,
so.
I can't hear them. They're
all
inside.
Yeah.
When they're outside, it's clear. as day.
Extremely
It's
loud.
like-
And it echoes because we have the bluff on the other side, so it's just like.
Because in one of the conversations, he said that during the day, there was a door that was open so the dogs could go in and out to the area in the back.
Yeah.
Possible.
Well, thank you for coming in.
Sure.
Thank you.
Are you part of this conversation as well?
Not morally support.
Gotcha. I just didn't want to leave you out. That's all. That's all.
With regard to the dog collar, looking at the December 6th report 2022, he states that he's lived, as I said before, lived at the house for 8 years with the dog, confused how the dog was suddenly an issue to someone. Stated he has taken mitigation efforts such as limiting outside time and bark collars. So it seems like around that time, that's when he started to use the bark collars. And that was the second complaint, or the second visit from the police department. Do we know if there's, so it sounds like was a single dog that was registered Reggie, but there might be a second dog. Can we confirm in terms of right now that there are two dogs there, or is it just one that is mainly the issue?
When I talked with him this afternoon, he said that there is a dog that he watches for another person occasionally. So he didn't consider it to be his dog. And he said that dog is licensed in another town. But I suggested that if in fact that dog is residing at his premises frequently, then I don't know if there's, maybe Sharon could answer this. I don't know if a dog can be registered in more than one town, but if the dog is living with him more often than not, then I suggested he go ahead and get it registered.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to register in this town, if he's already registered somewhere else. We can just give him a tag. He can transfer it if he's going to be there all the time. But that's how the towns handle it. If it's registered somewhere else, we honor it here. We will give him a new tag and a license, but that's if the dog is living all the time here. Because we had another one where they were going back and forth. The dog didn't live here, but it was registered in the town it lived in, and it just came here for daycare a couple times a week or whatever.
And do we know how many hours did he say to you, Valerie, the second dog? I mean, does he watch it only during the day or the morning, or?
No, I
4 days a
didn't
week?
get that far into the conversation.
I'm not sure it really has a lot of merit, but one will make the other one bark, but it seems like it barks even when it's gone.
He also mentioned, if I understood him correctly, that he installed a dog door that the dogs can go in and out whenever they want to. And maybe that's what Bruce was referring to, but apparently this is a new dog door.
But you're not noticing any less frequency?
Last week was pretty bad.
Yeah, it's usually like, seems like first thing in the morning is the worst. Like he leaves for work and they just bark for like several hours until they exhaust themselves. And then we hear it still like sporadically throughout the day, they'll go on.
I mean, from where they're outside, can they see like the road or other cars?
Yeah.
You can see other things, so
Yeah.
that could,
Yeah.
not that I make an excuse for him, I guess.
What are our next steps?
Joel, did you get the number that I messaged
I
you?
texted it to you, Joel.
Yeah, I do have it. You want me to call him?
It would be great. And maybe just very quickly recap some of the key points, but I think he's already familiar with the key points.
Hold on. I just want to, Valerie, we were talking earlier about conflicts and interests. I don't have a conflict here. I just want it to be known by the board that I do work with Kevin, wife at the National Bank of Maryland, Joe Hanson is an employee of the bank. She's not a supervisor of mine, but I just want to let that known that she is an employee of a colleague of mine.
Just to follow up on that, would that relationship affect in any way your ability to respond to this agenda item?
No, I responded to the one up north a year ago.
Yeah.
Hello, is this Michael?
Who's this?
This is Joel Bouvier calling, the select board member from the town of Bristol, and we were in a meeting and we wanted to talk with you, and you were supposed to come in, or we were trying to get on Zoom, maybe, or maybe you called the town offices, but we didn't hear the phone.
Yeah, I called a lot.
Okay, we have you on speaker. Myself, Vice Chair, Joel Bouvier, Darla Senecal is the chair, she's in the room. Police Chief Bruce Nason, Matt and Olivia, your neighbors, and Kevin Holt Hanson, and I didn't get Amy.
Okay.
Amy Holt Hanson are in the room, and we have Valerie Caples, our town administrator, and our two other select board members, Michelle Purley and Ian Alberson, all by Zoom.
Well, thank you so much for calling me back. I just want to say that first.
Okay.
And the second thing I want to say is just, I'm so
Hold,
sorry.
okay, so Michael, hold up just a minute. Ian, can you guys hear him?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Turn up your volume as much as you can and just sort of put it near the owl.
Yeah. People have the problem with me and my dogs.
Yeah, we can hear you in the room.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I just want to apologize to my neighbors, very much so. I just, I take full responsibility for everything, Joel, I just want to make everything better with my neighbors and my friends. I'll do anything they say. I've tried very much to rectify the situation. I live by myself. I have 2 dogs. I have a dog door where my dogs can go in and out of my house at will. Just so they're rescue dogs. That's what they need. I'm probably not saying this right, but I understand that my neighbors aren't happy. I just want to, I admit guilt. I admit that I'm wrong. I never want to do any of my neighbors wrong here.
I think,
I could play this out a long ways and being an asshole, but I'm not. It's my fault.
Okay. Let me ask a couple.
I want to make it right to them. So.
Okay. You said in the complaint, thought it was just, you had one dog who's registered with a town called Reggie. The dog, his name is Reggie. And by the police court was.
That's the one that barks.
And then but you just stated that you have 2 dogs. Is the second one registered with the town, the first thing?
Yeah, the second dog is registered with the town of Essex.
Okay, so
It's
you
my
watch that dog?
ex-girlfriend's dog. She has a baby that's 2 years old that has, Down syndrome. So I kind of take care of the dog.
Do you take care of that 24/7?
Yeah,
there?
it's registered in Essex, but I'll register it.
No, but so it's at your property at all times.
It doesn't matter. I talked to the town clerk today. If that's no problem, I'll definitely register that dog to make you happy. Everything has their shots.
Okay. Well, we're just trying to say how many dogs are on the property and what's causing the barking.
Care of animals.
So now that you, I think you're sincere. I've never met you, but you sound very sincere. What do you think the remedy for everybody in this room, everybody on the screen, and you to make peace in that neighborhood and cool the barking on the dogs? What do you, is walk them in the morning possibly, then put them in the house for the day and don't let them come in and out?
Say, let's not send any more SWAT team to my house about my dog barking.
Well, I know our police officers in town, and
Yeah,
I would
sent
doubt
a
that they were the
SWAT team
SWAT.
to my house
But-
for my dog barking 2 months prior to when the dog barked, and then 2 months after they sent a Nazi police officer to my
Well, wait a
house.
minute, I'm not gonna allow you to call our police officers, names.
I don't think he works there anymore.
Okay, well, whatever. But I think that,
Okay, well,
okay,
does
no,
he
wait,
come
Michael,
to your house
Michael,
dressed in
don't hang up on me.
SWAT team gear?
Okay, well,
For
our police
dog-
officers are dog wardens. We don't have a dog warden. We have turned that over
Yeah.
to the.
Yeah, what do you got then?
And we have police officers operating in a capacity of a dog warden to serve on complaints. If you had a party there or anything, or any of us had a party, and your neighbors complained about a loud party, or at my house had a loud party and the neighbors complained, that's who would come. We don't send the highway department for dogs, and we don't send them the highway department for a loud party. The police have jobs.
Sir?
Huh?
What is your name, sir?
My name is Joel Bouvier. I'm a select board member for the town of Bristol.
Oh, Joel. Hi, Joel.
Hi.
I'm sorry. I didn't ever mean to give you a
No, I just
flag
wanted to
here.
keep this civil.
I just
Michael.
wanted to tell.
I want to keep this civil.
I want to give my neighbors, I am to blame for the dogs barking. I take full responsibility for that.
So you say
And full responsibility for everything about my dogs to my neighbors, and I feel awful, and I'll do anything. My neighbors can set the terms
could we,
about the dogs.
I
But
won't speak.
the town has not done very well here by me.
We're answering the complaints of someone who's filed a complaint and sent us a letter. That's our job to do as select board and
agree
dog
with my
board.
neighbor, and I've done
I've never
wrong
met
by
them until the night they
but
just
the
walked
town's
in.
done wrong by me.
Well, that can be solved at a different issue, but can we at least say that for the next?
No, we can't say anything. You have to talk to my lawyer now.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm not going to say anymore. I apologize to my neighbor.
okay. Could we try putting them inside during the day and relieve that?
I have put that. I will do anything my neighbor can set the terms for me.
Well, since, sir, this is Ian Albinson. I'm a select board member.
Okay,
We have
Michael,
your
hold on.
neighbors here. We have your neighbors here in the room with us. So if you want to talk to your neighbors, they're here, and you can talk to them directly. And if they want to set some terms or talk about that, this is the time to do it.
Well, my neighbors can set the terms. They can do it now. I owe them that much. I take full responsibility for I feel horrible.
We appreciate that.
I really feel horrible. I really do.
Thank you, Michael. Michael,
it's very hard for me. I have a dog door. I have to go to work all the time. My dogs can come and go inside and out of my house. I never mistreat my animals. They cost me a fortune. My animals cost me so much money.
Michael, can we?
Never mistreat them.
Michael, can I let
I'm
Olivia?
accused of being abusive to my animals, and there's shit being talked here.
Okay, Michael, can we let Olivia? You're one of your neighbors that bought the Lunnell house. At Berry Farm would like to speak. Can you let her speak a minute? Go ahead.
Yes, I will, of course.
Sorry, Daryl.
We appreciate, your apology and your willingness to work with us. As far as the terms go, I thought maybe that would be something more that you work out between you and your dogs of maybe trying to figure out what needs aren't being met by them to lead to the excessive barking, because even with the dog door, and I appreciate that you've taken these steps, but even with the dog door and the bark collars, last week we woke up every single day by the dog, and so I don't think it's being as resolved as maybe you think it is.
There's lots of going on here. What? What do you want me to do?
I think.
It's really up to the town.
Yeah, I think that's up to the 5 select board with our town administrator and I think the board will discuss it tonight and send you the other board members speak, if I'm speaking out of turn, will send you a draft letter saying this is what at minimum, the barking is, I have a little yelper at home, and when people come to the door, they yelp, and I have to tell them to stop.
Police sent me when they came to my house. When your Rambo police came to my house and sent me they sent me a noise complaint, like a citation, which I sent in to the state, and I haven't heard my day in court yet.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, can we talk about? Do you have the citation there at the town meeting?
At our select board meeting tonight?
we have 3 citations.
We have it available on our.
We have it available. Yes, we do.
Yeah, well, I sent it in. Where is my due process? When can I have my day in court?
That's up to the judicial board or the bureau. They set the dates. We don't.
Okay, our police chief is just, can you speak up, Bruce?
Yeah. The judicial bureau sets the dates for hearings.
Yeah, well, you sent Nazi cop to my house first.
Okay.
Michael.
Who doesn't work at your police department anymore. And then the chief called me in January and told me you would issue me, I've got 4-hour notice till this meeting. 4-hour notice in a fucking...
Excuse me, watch the language.
Okay.
Michael, I'm gonna ask you to watch the language, please.
I'm sorry.
This is tape. This is tape for the public.
I'll
Michael,
watch my
we
language.
understand
I apologize.
Michael?
But I got a certified letter in the mail on Saturday, which I went and got this afternoon at 4 o'clock to tell me that there's a meeting here. And I get blindsided every single time I have to talk about my dog.
Michael, we appreciate that you made
Michael.
efforts.
I get 2 months. I get warning. I get citations 2 months after the incident. I get a warning or come here now. It's like 4 hours in advance. I mean, I feel like, come on.
Okay.
I'm gonna win this one, buddy.
Okay. Michael, our chair would like to speak, so can you just hold up a minute? Then we've got an audience member that would like to say something, please.
Michael, this is Darla. I'm the chair. I was elected this evening as the chair, and I just want to say that I appreciate you trying to call in tonight, and I appreciate you taking our call and telling us, your side of the story. So I want to let you know that you're being heard, and that we appreciate the efforts that you've made so far. So
I would just want to say that I would, whenever the police call, or if anybody ever calls me, I will always call them back immediately.
Okay,
I would never shy away from anything like this.
Okay.
I never shy away from any of this.
All right, we appreciate that very much.
I just feel totally blindsided.
Thank you for that. I understand, and I want you to know that we understand what you're saying, and we do have another person here in the room that would like to speak. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, yeah. Hi, Michael. This is Kevin Home Hanson. I live across the street. I'm your neighbor. I just have some questions that might seem really obvious, but I think it might help. So you have a dog door. When did you install the dog door? Was it recently, like this week or months ago or a year ago or?
Michael,
I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Sure.
Thank you.
So
I'm sorry. I didn't hear you.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Hi. So this is Kevin Home Hanson. I'm your neighbor across the street. And I just have some questions that might seem really obvious, but I think it might help. So you had mentioned that you installed a dog door. When did you install that? Was that recently or months ago or?
I installed the dog door about 6 years ago.
Oh, okay. And your dog, I'm sure, knows how to use it.
Yeah, my dogs.
Yeah.
Okay. I have 2 dogs, 2 cats.
Okay.
They go in and out of my house. That's the only way I can live here.
Right.
I put that in 6 years.
Yeah. All right. Good. Yeah. So one thing that occurs to me is sometimes when people have dogs that have behavioral issues, dog trainers can work miracles or do a lot of good. It might be worthwhile to think about that or explore that. Just trying to understand why if the dog can go in and out. And why would the dog bark? I mean, I'm not a dog whisperer. I don't know, but it might be worthwhile.
I know. I guess I have 2 rescue dogs and 2 cats that are rescue, farm cats. And I knew I could never live how I do. I have to go to work every day.
Yep, like most.
You know, I leave early in the morning, and like I had a significant other, but that's no longer the situation. And I had a significant other that worked from home, and then she's not here anymore. So I knew I had to do something.
Yep.
So I can't leave my dogs inside all day.
No, yeah.
I cut a hole in my house and put like a dog door in.
Okay. Michael.
Too much expense to me, like for their own like well-being, man. Like I feel heartbroken if I left them in all day.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting that.
But I don't know that they're like bark and like bug the shit out of my neighbor, you know, and like are horrible. And like I'll sleep though, and like I can't even hear them bark. I don't know. My neighbor, I know I'm wrong. I know I'm wrong. You know, I take the knee. You know, I'm not trying to be an asshole.
Michael.
Okay.
I would never, you know, I want everything to work here. I want to be a good neighbor to my neighbors. You know, I gotta fight for my dogs, so.
Yeah, I think everybody wants to just have a nice neighborhood, right? Everybody, you know, everything is nice. That's where we're all on the same page there, so.
So Michael.
I don't know, it's how you feel. You know, I render to your judgment.
Michael, you stated that you'd like to meet with us, the board. We meet every 2 weeks. If the board.
Yeah, I'll do whatever.
If we schedule something 2 weeks from tonight, could you attend? And not
Yes, I could if you give me a couple hours in advance or a day or two. A couple of days in advance.
Valerie, what do you want to? I'm sorry, I'm kind of taking over.
It's up to the select board. If that's what the select board wants, we'll make it work.
What does my neighbor want?
The dog's not to bark from early morning until late in the evening.
Yeah, well, let's make that happen.
I think.
Why don't you let the neighbors set the terms?
Yeah, well, they read a statement to us, and I wrote down the notes that starts early in the morning and continues most of the day while you're gone. They're in and out the dog door, and they bark late into the evening.
That's still happening.
It's still happening, and.
Really? Like, when's the last time I locked them inside?
Yeah. So they're saying especially first thing in the morning is when it starts?
I need to talk to my neighbor. Like, really? They're still doing it?
Yes.
Yeah, even with the dog door.
Well, one neighbor states that they heard him all day yesterday. Were you home yesterday?
I work every day, but
You work
I
Sundays,
lock them inside the house. I'm home. Yeah, I was home all day yesterday. All day, all night.
I have a question if I can.
Fellow people.
Did we establish that the bark collars do not work?
Yes, I guess we can.
Okay. So the bark collars are on the dogs now? Michael, are the bark collars on the dogs regularly?
Yeah, it's on this, yeah.
Okay, so
it doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they're working, for sure. Okay.
I don't know, I just want to make my neighbors happy here. I don't know what we gotta do here. I can't give them away though. I mean, I've had these dogs for like 9 years.
Yeah.
Okay, Michael, the board will send you a letter through our town administrator, I would believe, and whether we, I would hope that we would consider continuing and at least hear, I mean, we've heard your side tonight from the phone, by the phone.
It's up to my neighbor.
But
It's
the
up to
neighbors,
my neighbor.
all the 4 neighbors in this room tonight.
I don't want them mad. I want them happy.
The 4 neighbors.
I never want them to be mad. So it's up to them. Just talk to them.
Well, we're talking to you now.
How about the board does that?
Well, we're talking to you now, and they would like just the barking to stop and be peaceful and somewhat in the neighborhood.
I'll lock them inside all day long. But
Okay.
I'll do anything for my neighbor. I have been very wrong.
Okay.
I just apologize. I'm sorry.
If I could speak for the board, and I don't want to speak for the board, but this can go away if they stop barking, but it won't go away if they continue to bark. And we have to act as the select board.
I never want.
This is one of the worst jobs I hate as a select board member, to have to take a dog or do something.
It's not your fault. It's my fault, you know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Not bad dogs, it's a bad owner, you know, and I just wanna, I don't want my neighbors mad. I
Okay.
don't want my neighbors to sleep.
Thanks for taking our call, Michael.
Thank you,
I'm
Michael.
trying to, I will do anything to make this happen. I
Okay.
promise.
All right, Michael, we gotta close this, and because my battery's going dead on my phone, it's giving me low battery.
I'm
But
sorry.
thank you.
Again, I'm sorry you guys have to deal with this.
Well, and our town administrator, Valerie Caples, will be sending our results, if there's any tonight.
Yeah.
And,
It's fine.
and if there's a follow-up meetings, we'll be
Just
contacting
send
you.
those.
Okay?
I'll bend the knee to the neighbor, buddy.
Okay.
It's up to her.
All right.
So,
Thank you.
it's up to them.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you. Have a good night.
Thank you all for coming in and telling
Thank
us
you.
your
Yeah,
issue. We appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Thanks for having
You're
us.
welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting.
Super riveting.
Well, so we
You can always.
so we
check
still
it
need to
out on
discuss
Zoom.
this. I mean, there's a couple of things.
I didn't recognize you either, Kevin. Thank you. What's that?
So there's a couple of
Sorry.
things going on here. He's willing to accept what the neighbors want, but it sounded like, given his earlier comments, he's not willing to accept what the town wants. It's, as Bruce, Chief Mason stated, it is the town's decision of what to be done, and so we need to make a decision on that. I'd like to make that decision before the neighbors leave this evening, just so they have peace of mind. So, let's talk about that.
Mhm.
Okay.
He's had 3 violations. The barking still continues. It seems like he's attempted to do bark collars that haven't worked, and he's admitted that. He's suggested just at the end there that he would lock the dogs inside, but I don't know if that's a particularly good solution. It seems like it might cause more problem and more barking if there are 2 animals or possibly 4 animals inside together all day if he leaves the premises. Unfortunately, I don't see much of an option other than removing the dog that barks from the property. And I don't know, Bruce, what we're capable of in terms of that ability, given that he's had 3 warnings so far in a fairly
Ian,
short
I
period.
don't think we can remove the dog. If the dog is being taken care of, they're being fed, they're being treated well, we can't remove that dog. There has to be a physical reason why we have to remove it, and that's because he barks all day long isn't a reason for us to.
And he's not like the other dog complaint we had, he's not attacking a neighbor or anything like that.
Right. Well, so is our only option asking him to keep the dogs inside? I feel like that doesn't leave us many options in terms of resolving the situation.
I kind of agree with it, Ian. It doesn't give us a lot of options. I mean, I have a little 5-pound Pomeranian at home that everybody that walks by my house, he has to be in the window and bark at him. They can't hear him. But he's in most of the day. My wife goes home at noon and walks him and puts him back in. He couldn't be left outside because he'd run off. I think I want to give him 2 weeks, just 2 weeks. And if we continue to, maybe with just going by and hearing the dogs or not from the neighbors, if he doesn't do anything, then I'm not gonna say we're not gonna get serious now. We just sent him a letter now, said the barking has to stop, or other action will be, more severe actions will be taken. And then we can look into taking the dog. But if it's not been beaten or malnutrition or any of that, Michelle may be right there. I don't know if we can take him.
I also appreciated the suggestion of the dog training.
Yes, I do like that. We took ours to dog training. It did help.
I don't know that we can enforce that, but we could make that as a suggestion.
Sounds like he's willing to do something, right?
Yeah, we have neighbors
would be willing to
that take their dogs to dog daycare while they're at work during the day, or hire like a dog walker. Come and like spend some time with the dog during the day if it needs to be inside.
So maybe we could list some options for him that he might want to explore.
I mean, my dog, we have 2 dogs. They're rescue dogs. They stay inside all day long. They're not in a kennel, but they're inside all day long. No worse for the wear when we get home.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't we make that our first suggestion to him, that if we set the terms of 2 weeks, that the barking needs to stop given the 3 complaints, and it's the board's recommendation and the recommendation from the neighbors, and I don't want to speak for you, but that the dogs be kept inside, and we'll see how that works for 2 weeks. Does that sound reasonable?
That sounds good. I mean, we'd rather find a solution than have the dogs taken away.
Yeah.
You know, I guess the problem is he's come up with these solutions like the dog door, which isn't mitigating the problem, you know, and it seems like they're rescues that have behavioral issues to begin with. So despite the dog door and the shock collars, you know, they're still outside just howling, basically nothing for hours all day. So we're just trying to find a solution to that, you know, and we would rather find a solution.
So maybe dog training or dog daycare could be suggested, and given a period of time to see if that helps.
So we could perhaps the dog training or the dog daycare perhaps is an additional suggestion to our main one, which is keeping the dogs inside. And we already also recommend, or it has been recommended, perhaps a dog walker, a daycare, or dog training. But our first one would be a 2-week time period to have the barking stop, and the dogs need to be kept inside.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Okay. Does the dogs stay in that sensory all the time?
Yeah.
So they're not like they're vicious and trying to
Thank
get
you
out.
very much for coming in tonight. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Appreciate hearing your side.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
It was informative. I didn't know Bristol had a SWAT team.
Yeah. Bruce, was that in your budget, Bruce?
Thanks,
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, is that my baptism by fire?
I think so, Valerie. Excuse me, Darrell, I think so.
Whew. Okay. Number 3, appoint and or reappoint town officers or representatives, including new Conservation Commission candidate Noelle Rose and new ACRPC delegate candidate Richard Butts. Hi, Richard. Thanks for hanging in there.
And Noelle's on too.
And Noelle, thank you.
Meetings are riveted.
Hi there. We don't know how to follow that, but
right?
Don't even try, right?
You don't need to. It's okay.
It's okay.
My goodness.
I would say, for me personally, I would make a motion to appoint Richard Butts. I know Richard. He has been a member of many of our commissions and committees. He's currently on the Energy Committee. He is looking for a position on the Addison County Regional Planning Commission. What's that called, Val? Appointee or delegate? Delegate. He immediately stepped up after Katie's call at town meeting, which was very impressive. So I make a motion to appoint Richard to that position if people are interested.
I'll second it wholeheartedly.
Yes, thank you. Do we vote on both of these together, or do we vote on them separately?
I would do it separately because I don't know Noelle, but I do know Richard, having served with him on the Energy Committee. So that's why I'm sort of making that motion for him individually.
Any other questions for Richard, or anything you'd like to say, Richard?
Just that I've lived in Bristol for 10 years and become more and more interested and involved in the town. We found Bristol a wonderful place to live, and I guess I want to give back, but I'm also very interested in the work of the Regional Planning Committee. I've been a member of Addison Watch Collaborative, and I've gotten to know many members, and I'm very comfortable there. So I think, given the fact that we've got program.
We're losing your sound, Richard. We can't hear you very well all of a sudden.
There seems to be a whole lot of background noise, so I was waiting.
Okay.
It's Joel filling his water.
Sorry. Boy, it's slow.
We've got a lot of programs that are going to be coming to Bristol, and Valerie and Ian know that I've been working to try to get the Municipal Energy Resiliency Fund for the library and for Holly Hall. And so I think I can maybe be of service in this regard by being on the commission as well. So thanks for the nomination, and I'll be happy to serve.
Terrific, thank you.
Any other questions for Richard?
Richard, I'm gonna ask the elephant in the room question.
Oh, which one's that?
Many years ago, our board member, Peter Efron, and I were the only two on the board when we signed a letter for that Addison County Regional Planning wanted to bring natural gas to Addison County. And we were one of those 17 towns that signed that letter. And then you know the rest of the story, what happened in Bristol. If that came in front of the Addison County Regional Planning as a Bristol resident, and Bristol taxpayers, residents overwhelmingly wanted natural gas, how would you feel about voting that? You being on the Energy Committee and Regional Planning.
Oh, that's a good question. I was and still am against expanding gas lines. It's an old technology and we need to drop it. But going back to that time, the town meeting vote, what we were asking for was a straw poll. What we wanted to know was what Bristol residents wanted. And kind of a fast one was pulled. The vote was taken, and then they said, okay, now we'll do the straw poll. I think if you had done the straw poll before the vote, you would have found that an overwhelming number of our residents were in favor of the pipeline. And I would have acquiesced to that. I believe the residents should essentially, if it's a majority, that should be the vote. I would not
Okay.
oppose. Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your honest answer.
All right, shall we vote? All those in favor of Richard joining the Conservation Commission here in Bristol?
No.
Addison County.
Addison County. Oh, Addison County. Sorry. I was going to give you that too, Richard. So for Addison County, please raise your hand or say aye.
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 All right. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Noel, none of us are, I'm not familiar with you, Noel. I don't know if anyone else on the board is. Would you like to say a few words?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I just moved to Bristol about 3 years ago. I lived in New Hampshire for 20 years before that, and then other places before that. But I just bought a home on Lower Notch, actually, which was entertaining for me to listen to that just now. Anyway, I bought a house a year ago. I love this town. I love the feel of this town and Vermont in general, Addison County, and then this town in particular. And one thing that is near and dear to me is conservation, is keeping the natural beauty of this place here. And what always drew me to Vermont was that the people here seem to live with nature and live with, you know, what's already here versus trying to take everything they can from it. Where I come from in New Hampshire, not, you know, anything against that or anything, but there's a lot of human taking, you know what I mean, out of the natural resources for their own, you know, whatever, nobody doing anything bad, but just, you know what I mean, just really taking everything they can take. And here I don't feel like that. I feel like the people here, it seems to me, try to coexist more with each other and with the animals and with the trees and all of that. And that's so important to me. I'm so excited to find a place to live like that. And I've become more and more attached to it in just this short amount of time. And I would love to be a part of making that happen and making sure that that stays that way. You know, just things like the town green, just being able to be there. I play in the Bristol band. And, you know, it's just such a treat to be down there with everybody and just have people free to walk around and do their thing. And the more I learned about the Conservation Commission, about taking care of the parks, you know, Sycamore Park and Eagle Park and all of that, I just can't think of a more important thing to do than try to help preserve what we have here, because it's not like this everywhere. It's not like this most places that I've been. I've lived everywhere in New Hampshire. I mean, in New England there is to live, and you just don't find it. And I just think it's a special place, and I'd like to be part of keeping it that way.
Thank you.
Sounds great.
Any other?
I make a motion.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to make a motion to appoint Noelle Rose to the Conservation Commission. I know you've been attending meetings, and I've heard good things about you from Chair Carolyn Dash. So I'd like to make that motion.
I'll second.
Great. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Great. Great. Congratulations, Noelle.
Thank you.
Thank you both of you for volunteering. We appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you for volunteering.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
So on to the other items, the other positions that are open seats right now. Folks hopefully had seen the table that was online that listed the open seats, and we've heard back from a number of folks who are interested in being reappointed. We are still awaiting responses from a number of other people. So that's summarized in the table. And my recommendation would be to reappoint those folks that are interested in being reappointed.
Who do we have so far?
Would you say again? Didn't hear you.
Who do we
I was
have
asking,
so far?
who do we have so far? Is the PDF the most recent, Val, or do you have a new?
Correct.
More
Yeah, the
recent one?
PDF is
Okay.
the most recent.
All right, so looking through that, we've got Kevin Hansen for the Planning Commission.
Correct.
And we have Kristen Underwood for the Conservation Commission.
Yep.
And Ron LaRose for the Design Review Commission. You can add me to that list.
Okay, good.
For that particular commission. I've been on that for a good number of years. Let's see. And then we have a lot of response from the Equipment Committee, Alan Clark and Ken Johnson and Randy Sargent. Fantastic.
Yeah, we should have buttonholed Peeker while we had him.
Well, he's put on that no matter what.
He's ex officio, so yeah,
Okay.
I assume that he's still going to be part of that.
Okay.
My brother Peter saw me Saturday night. He said he wants to be reappointed to the Equipment Committee.
Excellent.
So.
Cool.
How are we, just a quick question, just out of the list, the Emerald Ash Borer Committee officially finished their report, and that committee was going to be sort of transformed into a tree committee. Have you emailed members of that previous committee, or is that something that is still going to happen?
The tree, some of the folks that were on the Emerald Ash Borer Committee have continued to meet, and some additional people have joined them. And they, I mentioned this in a previous report, that they consider themselves at this point to be an ad hoc tree committee. Yeah, so I met with them, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, and they were still kind of going through their own organizational wayfinding. And they were meeting with a person from Middlebury, the Middlebury Tree Committee, or a chairperson, and trying to get a sense from how Middlebury does it. At least the members at that time were not inclined to go through the official appointment process in terms of terms and things like that. And they wanted to keep things more ad hoc at this point.
Given that nature, is there a way that the town is able to follow what they're doing or be reported to know what's happening with that? Much like the ad hoc pedestrian and bicycle committee sort of came to us and presented different ideas. Would we do the same, ask the same of them, since we know it's an ad hoc committee?
I think that's a good idea. A couple months ago, they did apply for a grant through the Vermont Forest and Parks Department to do a street tree plantings.
Good.
And that grant was funded. And they're in the process now of refining the budget and the scope of work for that. We don't have the grant agreement yet, but the select board did authorize submitting that grant application.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Yeah. So I think it would be a good idea. Josh, I can never pronounce his last name, or at least not yet. He appears to be the default chairperson. And John Swepston is also very active on the group. So it would be worthwhile for them to meet with the select board and provide an update,
Josh Bohonic, maybe.
something like that.
Bohonic. Yeah. Okay, that's great. Okay, so at least we have a point person for that ad hoc committee
Right.
that we can reach out to and get an update. And I feel like, yes, especially if we'll be administering grant money to an ad hoc committee, we would definitely want to see what's happening and be able to know what where that money is going to go.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. And yeah, I'd like to work with you on that. The document, the spreadsheet I created of volunteers from Bristol who are on our committees and be able to track meetings and stuff like that. So this is a great start to update that.
Mm-hmm.
Ian, I don't know what's going on, but you sound like you got a frog in your throat every once in a while.
Yeah. Your sound
I
is
do.
a little funky.
It's terrible. Is this it's a bit strange.
Yeah. See, you just did it. It's like you
It's
got
very funny, Ian.
One of those little
That's-
voiceover things.
How many
Hang on.
tabs do you have open, Ian?
Maybe we're being
Zero.
hacked.
You sound like
Zero.
Lucy on, you sound like a Lucy on Charlie Brown.
Oh dear.
So Val, can we just make a motion to appoint those
Yes.
that have agreed to
Yeah.
stay on?
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay. Do we need to vote on that as well?
Yes, please.
All those in favor of reappointing all those aforementioned folks to their committees? Raise your hand or say aye.
Great. Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone. Okay. Item number 4, town meeting redo.
Or redux.
Redux.
Yeah.
Well,
Redo.
or the
Reduction.
Redo.
The redo.
Yeah.
We gotta sit through town meeting.
The reduction.
As I mentioned in my notes, this is just an opportunity to reflect on how town meeting went, for it being that it was the first time since the pandemic that we got back together in person. And if there are any parts of the conversations that we want to circle back on.
Well, I think it went pretty well. I think we had a little egg on our face, and I think I wiped some of it off when I got home about talking about that 2021 capital, and we had it printed for 22, but it was 21. And I think those are things we're gonna have to remember next year and do.
I think it's really, Joel, I think it's really a clarification to get the understanding, because we aren't working on a current number. I mean, so we really don't, we
I
weren't
tried to
basing
explain it.
our appropriations on that current number. It was on the previous year's number, because that's all we
Right.
had.
Right,
That's
you're
all
talking
we knew
about
we
the-
had.
The unaudited.
The unaudited,
Yeah.
designated funds. And I said to that person, if we didn't spend it in 22 from 21, it's still there. It's not like it went away, we had to give it back. It just moved into 22. So I said, I can see your point, but I said the article was read right, so.
Right, I think the concern from some of the financial folks in the audience was that, if there was a problem and that money actually wasn't there. And I think that was the part that folks were having a hard time grasping, that we do know that the money is there, even though it's unaudited.
And then another one that I spoke to, our former representative, that and I'd like to see if Anthony and Sharon and Valerie can work together on this. A goal of mine would be, under the next numbers 5, would be, he asked me the question, I said, I don't know the answer to that, is, do we make money on interest and taxes? If somebody owes so much and you charge them 1 to 1.5% and then 4%. And I said, well, I know the 4% pays for, if they gotta put an ad in the paper and that, they talk to the attorney and this and that, so. Do we have some kind of, Anthony, I don't want a long answer tonight, just something to think about. Can we track what we took in for interest on taxes collected, overdue taxes?
I think it would be misleading, Joel, because it doesn't account for Anthony's time working out payment plans and the administrative part of it as
But I said, I
well.
don't know the answer to that, because he, next year, said, I'm bringing motion to no interest.
But then there's not, the problem with that is, and first, Darla, let me answer your question, because Anthony gets paid by the town. He's a salary employee, so this money doesn't go to him. This goes to the
Right,
town.
No.
right, I
Right.
understand that. I'm just saying
So,
it's a time,
but-
his time is spent doing that instead of something else.
Right. But, you know, the no interest piece, I talked to Dave as well afterwards, and, you know, he wants to get rid of the penalty and the
Yeah,
interest. And
everything.
it's like, well, what incentive does anybody have to pay their taxes then?
Right,
If there's no penalty, why would you pay your taxes?
right.
I mean, then you're gonna make the town start doing tax sales. I mean, he made a comment about, you know, well, that's the worst penalty ever, is to give them interest or force them to be in delinquent taxes because they can't afford to pay them. And he said the town can do a tax sale. And I was like, and isn't that even a bigger penalty? Because then they have to get out.
Must have had the same conversation with the same person, because I did too.
Oh, yeah.
And I said but I said a tax sale requires a lot of upfront money. An ad in the paper, a talk with the attorneys and have the attorney draft the paperwork, send it to the taxpayer that's not paid. I says, where do you think that 4%, if we don't collect it, you and I as taxes, there's gonna be a line item somewhere in the general fund budget that says money to, or under legal fees, more, that's gonna be a budget line, it's gonna have to be increased.
Well,
So-
technically, I think, you know, if you do a tax sale, you can charge those back to the taxpayer. But if they don't pay them, you know, and then you have to sell it at tax sale, that can become part of the fees, but it's still, you know,
We
there's a
don't have
lot,
to
I
beat it
mean,
up
there's a
tonight.
lot of work. I've done tax sales at our office. There's a lot of work to them. It's not easy and it's time consuming.
I mean, we don't have to beat it up tonight, but that was one of
Yeah.
my redos of town meeting.
Am I still froggy, or am I actually being heard
You're
properly?
better.
You're good.
You're better.
Oh, good. Going to the 21-22, that was really interesting. I don't remember a town meeting where, and you folks probably do, where the use of unassigned funds was questioned as much. I mean, every year the town uses unassigned funds. I mean, there were undesignated funds before. I remember people questioning it that much. It was really interesting why that came up, and especially because it wasn't, even though it was 2021 instead of, or
Okay, you're going
2022,
back out,
21.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on with where. I'm not sure what's going on. The sound for everyone has been strange this evening. I think it must be a Zoom thing. Am I still bad?
I just saw it's.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not just. It's if somebody has a trait and they have a
hop
box
off.
in there.
I'll
That's what it
hop off
sounds
and
like.
then- Let me hop off and I'll hop back on. Maybe it says something here.
Sharon, did you have something you wanted to add? You look like you had something to say.
Well, I just want to remind everybody, which I was trying to get across at the meeting too, the 4% is a one-time penalty. It's not, it's just after the second one. So, you know, when he was saying it's 20% for the year, it's just a one-time penalty. It's not, and you know, my position has been, does the credit card company or any of your other companies give you slack? No. Why should the town? You're not paying your bills. It's like, you know, other people in town are supporting these people that are not paying their bills.
Because that's not the only thing that they get, but it's just, there's no incentive. If there's no penalty, no interest, there's no incentive to pay.
Right. And I also feel like, knowing that, Anthony reaches out and tries to work with people, and, there are opportunities for other avenues before that, before or even during, when people are in arrears, that the town is open to the idea of payment plans and whatever else people can get on. It's not like we're just saying, here's a penalty, make it work. It's because I've had this, we've talked about this before in our meetings. I brought it up too. And, are we sort of kicking someone when we're down? And I understand now, it's exactly what you said, Michelle. What's the incentive for someone to pay their, to pay their bill in a timely manner? I mean, most people will do it because they are who they are, it's what you do, it's part of your responsibility, but not everyone's gonna do that if there's not a penalty.
Well, it's just like a mortgage. I mean, when you take out a mortgage, you have a payment. You have a payment you owe, and there's interest on that payment. And if you don't make that payment and it's late, you get hit with a penalty.
Yeah.
I mean, this is really no different.
But with a mortgage, if you're late every month, there's the penalty.
That's right.
Yeah, there is.
That's right.
We do have one home that will need to go up for tax sale. The gentleman died 3 or 4 years ago. We think there's a couple grandkids, but we have no idea where they are. His children are both dead. His wife is gone. But then the house just sits there. So we're gonna have
There's no
to do like
estate?
we don't know. Not as
we-
far as we know.
We don't know, and I've also reached out for other avenues to see other alternatives that we could use instead of trying to put this thing up for a tax sale. But it is looking like that is going to be a thing for sure, and I don't know how we want to pursue that, whether it be on the sooner side, whether it be something more structured, because I mean, Sharon and I were talking, we're like, okay, the supposed grandchildren involved, are they going to come out of the woodwork as soon as we post this, or is this thing going to be like, oh, okay, it's up? But then we need to also think, how long can we hold on to this house? How much is it going to cost? Is it a total gut job? I mean, there's a lot of factors. Being on the board for the Governmental Financial Officers Association for Vermont, this is a constant topic, and people are kind of like, oh God, financially, what do we do? Is it going to cost the town too much money? Are we going to end up taking a loss for it? So there's a lot of hesitancy over tax sales overall.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know tax sales are a struggle, but you know, there's got to be a point where you have to almost set a precedent to say, we're not afraid to do a tax sale. I mean, if they know you're not going to do a tax sale, then people won't really pay their taxes. I can tell you that like Killington or well, Sherburne, Killington, whatever, they do tax sales every year. You know, they have condos and people that are second homes that they don't pay. They do tax sales every year.
Yeah, we haven't done a tax sale since I've been here,
Right.
5.5 years.
I mean, we're not gonna be doing very many of them.
No.
No, but I'm wondering if this this particular house might set like a, we are capable of doing this. We are willing to work with you through whatever struggles you are going through, as long as you are willing to continue to pay what you can. But if you can't, there is going to come a time where we can no longer shoulder this sort of like, we do need this money to function. I mean, there's a reason why the town has a budget.
Right.
Yeah,
but if you can't find the grandchildren, what are you going to do? I mean,
well, exactly. I mean,
right.
I
And also
worry-
too, that delinquent tax amount is growing and growing and growing. And while I understand that it was much larger a few decades ago, or less than that, it's still growing and growing. And we need to be able to help people if we can.
It was down pretty low before the pandemic hit. They
Yeah.
didn't have a huge delinquent tax.
I worry about the condition of the property and that the longer it sits vacant, it
worse it's gonna
continues to deteriorate. And given the high demand for housing in Bristol, that it's a very unfortunate use of that resource. And that if it does become available at a tax sale, I wouldn't be at all surprised if there are bidders on it.
Right.
But even then, the owner, if that can be found, or whoever is holding title to the property, has a year to reclaim
To
it.
redeem. Yeah.
Right. But in the
Whoever
meantime,
buys
it's
it
just,
can't do anything with it for a year. So
right.
the
But in the
sooner the
meantime, it's
better.
just rotting away.
Right.
So going, yeah.
Oh, sorry,
Yes. No,
Anthony, just
go
real
ahead.
quick. Have you called the probate court, the Addison probate, to see if an estate's been open?
oh, that's a good idea. Actually, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I mean, if he died here, that's where I would call just to see if they've opened an estate.
Oh, that's a good idea. Okay, I can definitely do that. Also, I'll just add, we have had a substantial amount of money over the last couple months come in for delinquent taxes. We've had like $80,000 in the last 4 to 5 months.
Wow.
Just with the VHAP program and the large portion that was the previous year, I think. Next time I run delinquent taxes, which should be actually What is today, the 13th? It should actually be probably next week. So I should get a better figure for that. Because I know that you were asking about that, Joel, and just having it broken down maybe.
Well,
Just
you
for you.
whispered, Anthony, you whispered to Michelle and I when they were talking about those in the book, it said something, I'm gonna pick a number, I thought it was like $153,000 of.
Yeah, that's total. That's everything people owe. That's everything, not 1 year. That's
So,
everything.
but that is up till April 15th. When the tax bills came out in September, we have 2 tax installments. Is that part of that 153? If it all got paid before April 15th, they're paying it on time. Is part of that
report, that amount of money is good until June of the end of the most recent FY, so 22. That's what it was.
Out of that 153,000, how much of that was the second payments of the year we're in?
I would have our current year, it's not.
None of it.
None of it.
Oh, okay.
I mean, usually you don't really try to read that figure until the second payment, because we do have a lot of residents who do pay all at once towards the end of the year when they make a large majority of their money. And
yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
A couple things. So I thought the 2021-22 thing was interesting because people brought that up and were concerned about using undesignated funds. I hadn't seen that before. I don't know if that's a new thing that people are looking at. I want to talk about voting numbers. So one of the things that I was looking at was participation. Sharon, do you have exact numbers of how many people attended on Monday night? We did a rough count. It was like a head count. It was like 75. Maybe it was more. I don't know if you have an exact amount.
I did not do a head count, and I don't know how many people are on Zoom, but they couldn't vote.
33 on Zoom. So let's say it was 75 people. So running the numbers, that's about 2% of our voters were voting for the majority of our articles, which is pretty low. We had about a 15% turnout in terms of the next day voting for a few things. So my thinking is, do we want to consider moving everything to Australian ballot to allow for more voters to vote on the articles for the town, given that turnout, maybe it's 75, maybe it was 100, we're not ever going to get, Holly Hall is a limited amount of space that can actually hold people, but it's a very small percentage of the town that's actually voting on all of the town's budget. So I'm curious what people's thoughts are about doing everything as Australian and potentially not having town meeting, or still having town meeting and having it as an in-person and Zoom informational meeting to discuss the items on the ballot.
Well, I believe you would have to vote on it next year to go that route. You can't just
Correct.
arbitrarily change it.
No, I know. I want to have the discussion about it, whether people are interested in doing that. But yeah, I know that there are steps that we would need to take if we decided to move in that direction.
The only problem is when you have a 4-page ballot, it takes a long time. And if you have more than, because I think it was 4 pages last time, and it took a while for people to get through. That's the only downside.
Just voting on the day, on that Tuesday.
Yes.
And I think part of it, Ian, like the low voter turnout on Tuesday, was there wasn't one contested race.
No.
Not one.
And there wasn't a hot button item.
There wasn't a hot button item, and no one ran against each other.
Right, and the school voting happened.
And the school voting happened before.
Yeah. I would rather see us go to, you're not gonna like this idea. I would rather see us go to a Saturday town meeting. I know, Michelle, I can see it written all over your face. I think we would.
I mean, I get it. I totally get it, but it's like, do I really want to spend a Saturday?
I totally get that, but I think we would see more. I think we would see more people.
I'd be willing to try that versus if you're going to put everything on a ballot, let's not even have a town meeting on Monday night then.
Well, it's not that I don't think it's that you can't have town meeting. It's just an informational meeting.
It's not a town.
Yeah, it's enough.
Yeah, I mean, there's no. I mean, people can ask questions, but you can't change anything.
Yeah, I did get asked when I was passing out ballots, people would come back and go, I don't see the town budget on here, or the highway budget. I said, we voted that last night. So, yeah.
So Sharon, to your point in terms of the length of a ballot, let's say we wanted to move in this direction as a number of towns are doing and voted on this past week, can we compartmentalize some of the articles as we do at town meeting where appropriations are all in one? I know that we listed each individual appropriation before. Can we put them all together? Are we allowed to do that as we do on
I
a floor
believe
vote?
so.
Okay.
Yeah, just like the warning did this time.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it removes the ability for an individual, a voter, to not vote on a particular appropriation, which I don't know if people would be against that. I don't know, Sharon, in Virgin's, is every appropriation individually listed, or is it grouped for you?
No, it's individually listed, but they don't have as many requests.
Oh, that's
Really?
interesting.
Huh.
You'd think they would, that little city.
Really?
Interesting.
Little city, big money.
Yeah.
So Saturday, yeah, I've heard that. I asked Eric Coda that. We saw him on the evening there, and they have their meetings at Starksboro on Saturday, and he said attendance for them was about 75, but he didn't, and that was what we had on Monday evening. But yeah, I don't know if we can encourage more people to come if it was a Saturday. Some people mentioned that to me on the evening too.
I know it's probably easier for people with families to come on a Saturday.
Yeah. I think this year we got done early, but there have been years when it's gone till, midnight-ish or so. I've sat through those meetings. That's hard if you've got young kids or if you've got to get up and go to work in the morning, or if you're milking cows or something like that.
But that was when we did the school board too, and the school board hasn't been in, so our meetings have not been that long.
Yeah, no, they haven't been. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate the tradition of town meeting, and I appreciate the ability for people to speak from the floor. And to make those changes if they feel like they're necessary. I would hate to see that go away.
I agree with you, Darla. But I wish they would come to the meetings where we're doing the budget. When they have those concerns and they want to talk about it, not like that night.
I agree.
Well, do we host budget meetings just like our town meeting and have people show up? Because I mean, yeah, I can kind of understand. I mean, I am living in the town now, and town meetings when I moved up here in 2016 were a foreign concept to me a little bit, just because of like the size. But then you also need to take in consideration how big Holly Hall is. So where is your threshold for voters? If we were to fill it, I think it's like 300 people. What percentage is that of the voting population?
It's only like 5 or 8%.
So we're only ever going to get 5 or 8% to be like technically allowed to vote on the articles, I guess, is some way to think about it. But I'm saying that more as a private citizen and not as the treasurer of the town.
Well, there isn't a place in town that's going to hold all our taxpayers.
Oh, exactly.
No, but at least the ability to offer as many voters as possible the ability to vote on the town's most important articles, I think, is important. And it's up to us to hopefully educate voters on what they're voting on. I know that part of the argument to keep town meeting is that you're discussing it right then and there, as Darla said, and you can make changes. And perhaps if everything was Australian ballot, you lose that ability, obviously, and you may have less informed people making those voting choices. And so part of that, I think, is up to us to make sure that hopefully we educate people and that they know what they're voting on. But it is a complicated process. It takes a lot of time and investment to know what's going on in your town.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Dalla remembers when she was department head of direct, we cut the budget and they voted it back in, amended it from the floor.
For more.
She got more, and but you couldn't do that on a Tuesday here's a ballot, go into that booth and vote. You couldn't do that. It's either yay or nay. And I mean, I haven't done this as long as Peter, but I know one way how to fill this room up is the 5 of us screw up.
We don't seem to be doing that.
Huh?
We don't seem to be doing that, so.
But I take that with some good pat on the back and say, you guys, we must be doing all right. We must be doing something right, because they don't beat the door down on Monday nights and say, what? Here's the rope, we're ready. What are you guys doing? So.
So where do we leave this discussion?
On to number 5?
Yeah, move on.
Okay.
Yeah, no action is required.
No action is required. Okay.
Right.
All right, so select board calendar and goals for the coming year.
I hope we can stick to this.
Well, that's a goal. Yeah.
There's our first goal.
Let's stick to the topics that are that Val has listed on here. I mean, I just look at the personnel policy that we did, what, almost 2 years ago now? And we still haven't gotten back to it.
I was just thinking about that.
Yeah. One of my goals is try to get us, I realize COVID has made us so behind the screen, but at least once every couple of months, the 5 of us, the 6 of us get here at the table.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even the summer months. I get it, Valerie. I wouldn't want to start traveling over the mountain here at 9 o'clock. It must be snowing out by now. I get that part of it, but I'd like to see us get back at the table. I mean, tonight was a perfect example. Darlin, we were here with hearing the public, and you guys were hearing them, and they were hearing you. But I think a little more solidarity when the 5 of us, 6 of us are here at the table.
No, I, for myself personally, I plan to attend in person more often when I can, weather permitting. Yeah, especially with the daylight a little bit longer, that helps. But no, I do plan to be there in person.
That's one of my, I was out for many times. Darla's been out with her knee. We all had, and I just would like to, maybe during the summer months, we try to meet a little, I wouldn't mind having our town meeting or our selectmen meeting right on the park on a Monday night on the bandstand. Maybe people would stop. I don't know.
It might be a challenge for the TV camera.
Yeah, it would be.
If they had food, they might come.
Yeah.
We'll get the hot dog cart to come.
I had a nice meeting with Kevin Hansen about Planning Commission town plan implementation tasks, and a couple of things that came out of that that we might want to add to this list in the pending future projects activities is to spend some time to circle back with the Planning Commission on the status of some of those implementation tasks that the select board and the town administrator have been assigned, just to see where we stand with some of those things. And then the other one that should be added, I don't think was on the list, is circling back on the police district question and townwide expansion. That came up certainly at the town meeting, information meeting on Monday night, and some questions were asked about that, and if and when that might come back to the town.
I think we put it on the ballot for this November or next town meeting.
Well, there isn't
a vote in November, is there?
There isn't
There's
a
not an
vote in
election in November. So
I
it'll
would
have to
say
be
in
March.
March.
Well, it wouldn't have to be March. We could make a special town meeting for that particular vote if we wanted to.
Yeah, that's expense.
Yeah, I would rather just do it. And then we get more than 6%.
Poor Sharon.
We get more than 6% of the voters to show up on Tuesday from 7 to 7 to vote on that. Yay or nay? We'd hear from them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of groundwork has already been laid in terms of the kinds of information people need. I think if I don't think another committee needs to be formed for that, but maybe a select board member and others kind of get together and update the information that we know is of interest to voters and present that as a package of FAQs the kind of thing.
I think that's a good idea.
Well, but before we do that, the select board itself has to be in agreement that this is the direction that we want to go. Because we're making this decision and we're offering up. It's not like we're saying like it's this or this. Like we have to decide whether we want to have a townwide police department.
I think,
And I think
I actually don't think it's the select board, it's the town, it's our voters, because they're the ones that have to decide ultimately. So that's why I think, you know, when you say put it on the ballot, I think that the question is does the town voters believe we need a townwide, or are they happy with it as a village?
But I think
but the questions raised by that question need to be answered by somebody, and who is that somebody?
Right, I think Ian, what you're getting at, I believe, is if we believe that we need to go townwide, the 5 of us need to stand behind it and sell it. So
That's what I hear Ian saying.
Right.
Yeah.
I think if we had any narrative about it, and we have to present reasons why, because people will ask us, do you believe this is the right thing to do? I don't think we can be ambiguous in terms of what the decisions are. Because too many questions will be raised by that then do we say that we're not willing to answer those? Go talk to Bruce or go talk to your neighbors and ask what they think. I think we need to have the answers to the questions that might be asked.
I mean, we can have the answers. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're all in agreement, but we can have those answers. We can all have that information and the facts.
Right, but I think you're right too, Michelle. Ultimately, it's the town that has to vote and decide to go townwide. Because that's the question I believe Brett asked at town meeting, can the select board just make that decision? And Joel answered that by saying it's within
the merger doc states it has to be townwide vote.
Yeah.
Right.
So looking at this calendar, if we're moving in that direction, I wonder when we want to benchmark this to have it as an agenda item.
I think it'll be important to have Peeker here as part of that discussion. When does he come back?
He'll be here for the next meeting.
Well, I was looking at maybe in June, because you're going to be talking about the contract review. So
right,
maybe during that same time.
Yep. Okay.
We also have the matter of the rented police building, and whether I don't think we can make a decision about that before we put it out for a vote for townwide. I think you'd want to do townwide first, right?
I don't think so.
Because you can't. I mean, our decision is: are we building a building for the police department? And I think asking the police district taxpayers to shoulder that burden, and then a year later it opens up, and then we do this vote. I think one has to come before the other. And I know that we're tight on time in terms of our rental for that space. And is it negotiated for another 5 years? Is that even on the table? So there's a couple of things in play that we really need to decide on. And that's why I do feel that the select board has to be on the same page regarding this, because there are a lot of things that we're juggling.
So Ian, let me ask a question. You said one has to come before the other. I mean, whether we go townwide or not townwide, we're still going to have to put up a building, and the building, if I understand from the discussions we've had with Bruce and whatever, that building wouldn't, the footprint or the size wouldn't change whether we were townwide or just police district.
Well, I don't know. I don't think we've had that discussion. I think the main things that we've talked about is the potential for moving it and the options for what we can build. I don't think a townwide has factored into that at the moment. Not that I remember. And so part of that is sort of working with the chief to sort of figure out what townwide means, and then applying that to what a building might look like. But I do think in terms of the monetary amount, it's not a direct switch. It's not the money that would have gone into rental payment switches over to a bond. More than likely that bond would be more than that rental payment. And so I think you're asking a lot, and I say this as a district member, you're asking a lot to ask district members to vote on that before potentially going townwide and getting an answer for there. Because once you put the vote out for townwide and that decision comes back, whether it's yes, go townwide, or no, then you have the point at which to discuss the building and things like that. Because if it fails and the town decides doesn't go townwide, then the district has to sort of figure out what it's going to do for the future. We also have to figure out, because there's the whole clause about disbanding the district before and then voting on it to go townwide. There's complexity in that agreement from the 1980s when that was made. We need to really figure that out, and figure out the procedure to do this.
So it sounds like we should plan on coming back to this question in June.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good.
And I really think that we come back to that in June or July, whatever. We give it some serious and not rush it in 10 minutes and not have an agenda that's 4 miles long.
Right.
If that's on the agenda, that's it. Or
Yeah.
a couple of little things, not, well, we're gonna do water, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and we're here until midnight. And by then, let's just get the heck out of here. And we all wanna leave. We gotta
Right.
give it some serious and do all the, because I can give you more graphs that I've done or charts that I worked on those 3 committees. You know, you've seen it, Valerie. How many towns did I survey? What their police department budget was versus their highway budget? How many miles they have? Yeah. I want to give it some decent time and not just rush it through and then say, okay, we talked about it.
Right.
Check it off the list, so to speak. Sorry.
But, and speaking of time, I realize it is kind of getting a little bit late, so we don't have to necessarily dwell on this calendar. It's introduced tonight so that you can glance at it, and maybe we can come back to it maybe in a month and see if folks have any changes to make to it.
Okay. Alrighty, should we move on to number 6? Authorize the accounts payable warrant and any liquor or tobacco licenses.
We actually,
no,
we
did
had
we-
one more,
did I
5.1,
miss
which
one?
was to approve the minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed
Or
that.
discuss the minutes.
Right.
Discuss the minutes.
I just had one change, which was a name thing, which I sent to Sharon.
Yeah, and I
Yes,
sent
which
my
I
changes.
fixed.
I sent my
Yeah,
changes.
and the question on the 650 million is what the global oil market would expect Vermont to spend without ever being asked is that's what we wanted to spend. So
Can I say I wish they
changed-
would have, sorry, go ahead, Sharon.
No, go ahead, Michelle. What were you going to say?
No,
You wish
I was just
what?
gonna say, I wish that the 2 representatives would have hung around for a few questions before they took off.
I know.
They were in a
I know
hurry
that
to go to
Chris
their
had,
other places.
yeah, Chris had 2 more meetings, and so he spoke to me right at the top of the meeting, asking if he could go first because he had 2 more to get to.
Yeah, well, they should allot them a little more time.
Agreed. And the liquor licenses, Sharon, you need us to make a motion, correct?
Yes. But are we going to vote on
minutes?
Minutes.
Oh, minutes. Sorry. I keep forgetting about the minutes.
I make a motion to accept the minutes with changes.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Alrighty. Sorry about that. I'm over eager this evening. So we've got accounts payable in the amount of
45,000.
45,000. Yep. Go ahead, Sharon.
45,908.79.
Yep. And Joel and I have signed. So do you have to make a motion on that? Yes? Sorry, I can't remember.
Nope.
No, just not on the warrant, just on the liquor license and for tobacco license.
Thank you.
Yeah, and what we have for liquor licenses from Hogback Mountain Brewing, it's their first-class restaurant license and their outside consumption permit.
And that's the only one?
It's the only one. There's 2 there,
You're right.
but it's for the same entity.
Right.
We didn't have any restrictions on theirs, right?
Not on theirs, no.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the liquor license, their regular and their outdoor consumption permit.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. All of those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Okay. Thank you. Okay. So accounts payable. Number 7, Selectboard round table. Michelle.
I just want to say thank you to all the voters for coming out and voting and attending our back to kind of semi-normal town meeting. Other than that, I think I'm good.
All right, thanks. Ian?
Couple things. I sent this to Val, but I want to let the select board know about it. There was an article in VT Digger about contaminated drinking water in Heinsberg. And
Yeah,
it was
I saw that.
coming from their closed dump.
Mhm.
And certain high levels of the PFAS levels were high.
Yeah.
So they're having to deal with that. And I know that our dump is monitored and it was closed correctly, which it doesn't seem. The Heinsberg one, there's some confusion of how that was actually capped. But I wanted to find out, and Val's working on this to sort of how are we monitoring PFAS levels and things like that for the surrounding groundwater. I know that we do monitor that in various ways, but I just wanted to check on that. I would hate for us to be a few years later having an article about Bristol in VT Digger about the same issue. So I brought that to Val's attention, but I wanted to let the board know. Obviously, other members saw that article. I also had a meeting with Madison at the Addison County Regional Planning Commission. Myself, Richard Butts. We talked about the MERP funding opportunities, and this is something that's coming through that the library might take advantage of, and also the town might take advantage of in terms of energy audits and assessments and updates for town buildings. So that was very successful, and we're sort of waiting on those grant opportunities sort of opening up. But the town is working, Val is working and with Regional Planning Commission to make that happen. So, but exciting opportunities for funding coming down the pipeline.
Great. Thanks, Ian. Joel?
Yeah, Valerie, at the beginning of the meeting, you talked about emails and, and board, we're setting policy or not, when you're like between you and Ian, it's fine, but when the five of us get involved, that's a kind of more of a meeting on an email or so. You said something, I don't remember, and I wrote it down here, but last week you asked us, I didn't see Peak or I respond. You asked about, should all the department heads take that fair and justice seminars? And so that was kind of was that really a board? I mean, it was a board decision because you were asking for all of us, and Ian came in and Michelle came in, and I'm not sure if Darla did or not.
I don't recall.
I didn't see yours, but is that one of those things you think if we all answered, that's more of a board that should have been ratified at the next meeting?
That's a very good point, Joel. And it would have been good practice to have ratified that at the next meeting. But the fact that there was no response, or there was limited response, I just
One more would have responded. It probably would have had to come from the board, correct? Because you had a three, you only two. Okay. Yeah. And then you got my email just for information. The guy's coming from Job Corps to look at the cemetery for all the trees. And I told him to call me on his way, and I'd call Eric, and I've talked to Eric, and Eric said, I can meet him up there, and you, Valerie. So, and then how's the Pine Street water bid going? Ready to go out?
We're still waiting on the state to authorize the bid package, to finalize the bid package and authorize us to put it out. So we're still in a waiting game right now. But it's not too. We're missing the competitive window, or we can still get it out. Yeah, we wouldn't be able to execute a contract with a contractor until after June anyway, because the loan funds will not have been approved by then. We still have our loan application to be approved for construction, so we wouldn't be ready anyway. But the window is closing on getting a good competitive price.
Yeah, but is the packet ready to go to the contractors or go into the paper so they can at least start slicking it out on their big tables in their meeting rooms and start breaking it down? Is that ready to go? And
it's
could
not.
That go?
For some reason, I don't know what. Well, I know the state department is backlogged. The staff, they're working crazy hours to try to keep up with everything. So that's part of the problem. But we don't have authorization to bid yet.
I mean, we can't even tell them a number that we'd like you to pay or help us pay because we haven't even put it out to bid. We've got a engineer's report that says we bonded for 900 or gonna bond for
Right.
900 some odd thousand. As the window keeps closing up and more bids get accepted by the big guys, they're going to say, well, if we're gonna do Bristol, we're gonna squeeze it in, but we're gonna
Right.
make some serious money.
Right.
That's
Well,
fine.
that's a risk. That's definitely a risk.
Okay,
On the flip
Good to know.
side, we also might get lucky. Who knows?
yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
And that's all I had.
Yeah.
That's all I had.
Okay. And I don't have anything for this evening. So town administrators report.
I do not have anything to add to my written report at this point.
Thanks. Other correspondence reports or correspondence received?
In the TA report are listed several items that might be of interest to folks related to sidewalk inventory, pavement markings, the state hazard mitigation plan update, VLCT new access portal for town officials, Emerald Ash Borer project newsletter, and then the Addison County Regional Planning Commission newsletter. And information about the MERP outreach, MERP funding.
So about, given what Joel had raised with the professional development training, what was the outcome of that? You were asking sort of for suggestions or a direction to head, and I don't know, as Joel mentioned, that I guess that if a decision had to be made, it would have to be an open session. So what was the outcome of that? Is it just a purely volunteer?
Well, if I sent an email to everybody, and it's also in the TA report, since there wasn't complete consensus on whether it should be required or not, I went ahead and said that it should be required of department heads and strongly encouraged of other employees. Because one of my questions to the select board was, what's the consequence if a department head can't make it? I mean, there really is no consequence, but it's an expression. And I don't recall exactly who said this, but made a compelling case for saying that it should be required of department heads, partly to set an example, and that 2 hours every other week for this limited period of time is not a heavy lift to ask. So I went with that.
Okay.
Unless you can't do it during the day, which I
Understood.
won't be able to. I'd have to do it at night.
Right.
Because I don't have anybody come in till 9:30 and it's half over by then. So
Right.
I'd have to do the Zoom every Wednesday night or whatever Wednesday nights it's on.
Mm-hmm.
Sharon, are you able to do that, or is that more difficult?
No, I
to
can do
add?
that. It's just
Okay.
extra hours because
Mhm.
of when it was chosen to have it done. It'd
Right.
be better if it was like 10 to 12 instead of 9 to 11 because after the end of the month, I won't have anybody on Tuesday and Thursday. I'll just have Gail. I'll be back to just Gail again.
Okay.
So I'll have to do it in the evenings.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Sharon.
Well, and that's the same with any of the select board members, because I can't do it during the day.
Right.
Right.
And any of the volunteers or, anybody on any of the committees, they work, they can't do it during the day.
So the schedule is established in part because of the consultants' availability.
I can go for the first half. Should I go to the other half in the afternoon as well? Just because like I have the water software people are coming to switch all of the stuff and I need to get my computer transferred over.
It's entirely up to you, Anthony.
Okay, I will just go with the flow and see what happens. But I can definitely be there for the first half. And then I'll go to the second half with Sharon. We'll just see.
Okay.
One way or another.
You take the notes for Sharon in the morning, she'll take them in the afternoon. So you guys
Oh, that's a good idea. And then before anyone gets there, we'll copy each other's notes.
There you go.
Great. All right. Joel, you said you had one other thing.
I got asked when I was passing out ballots on Tuesday afternoon a number of times, not more than, more than I'm on one hand. When are we gonna start opening up the office on Fridays? My point, I just said, right now, we're limited staff. I think we got people out, we can't hire anybody yet, because nobody applies. We got one with broken hand, broken wrist. So I said, but I'll bring it up, so I brought it up. I do think that, we ought to wean that way towards a goal. That should have been under the goals, is to try to open up on Fridays.
Well, and maybe it's one of those things we open half a day Friday and give the other half Sharon time to catch up on stuff.
Yeah.
Or actually be
Half a loaf of-
gone.
When you're starving to death,
Right.
Michelle, half a loaf of bread is better than nothing.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Oh, and just an FYI, next Monday, I will not be opening until 10 after Gail comes in for 9:30 because I have a physical Monday morning and I don't have anybody to open the office. So Gail will open it at 10. She knows the process to opening, so we'll be closed the first couple hours. And I'll put a post on Front Page Forum and there'll be one on the door like I always do.
But Anthony will be here, correct? Your assistant clerk?
He is, but he doesn't know how to do anything in the front end.
But the office, come in, the vault won't be open, but could they go down? I don't, they could pay their taxes or, correct? I'm not saying, am I wrong? If he's in the building.
Well, if he wanted to open the vault, he doesn't really want to do the cash because he does a deposit. So technically he shouldn't.
Right.
Yeah.
That is the only thing.
I'd say it's just one day. It's an unusual circumstance, so I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. They could put their taxes in the mailbox outside.
Yeah, they could.
Okay. Okay. We have an executive session this evening.
Yes, to briefly circle back on the personnel matter and real estate negotiation.
Okay.
20 at 10, I'm out of here at 10.
Good.
I'll keep quiet.
We'll add that to the goals.
Okay. So Michelle, you want to do your thing?
I'll make a motion. We enter executive session to discuss real estate negotiations and personnel matters for 1 VSA section 313.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. If we all said nay, we wouldn't have to do it.
Oh, nay then.
Good night, Jimmy.
Thanks, Jim.
Good night, Jim. Good night, Carol.
Good night, Carol.
Thank you, Carol.
Okay. Our two gentlemen just stepped out, so they'll be back.